rolling out with the break of dawn. Canvas skies and the show goes on. Iron stakes and the hammer sound. Building dreams on this muddy ground. With sawdust running through our veins, we do it for the faces in the crowd. Step right up with R&B, 'cause this ain't just a show, it's circus history.
Welcome to Off the Rail Podcast, where we talk all things circus. Today, we are joined with Brian and Tatiana. Did I say that right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. And today's show is actually sponsored by the Al Ringling Museum. More about them in the description below. And all right, guys. So, I guess the big question would be, how'd y'all get to the circus and what started it?
Well, it goes back a ways. I started going to the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus every year for my birthday. At around 4, I say around 4 because nobody really remembers like before that time. So the first show I can remember that I went to was the 126th edition. And the only reason why I remember that is because I had the old blocky VHS tape that they used to sell with the recap of the show. And I remember before watching that tape, I was petrified of clowns, actually. Somebody thought it was a good idea to show around 3-year-old the original Stephen King's It.
Oh, no.
Which I don't suggest. Bad idea. So I actually spent a while just really uncomfortable with clowns and balloons and just all that like loud noises. That movie messed me up because I was 3. But like I said, I saw the 126th edition of Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey, or at least the VHS tape, because I don't remember seeing the show. I was too young. But I watched that tape over and over and over again. And that was the light bulb moment for me, because in that tape, 2 pretty famous clowns, Tom and Tammy Parrish, they came onto the screen and they spoke to the host and they greeted him and they, did some cool stuff with him. They brought him into the dressing room and I was like, oh, that's makeup. They put a wig on him and like they dressed him up and they turned this regular, mundane, everyday guy into this larger than life character with big floppy ears and red hair. And I was like, that's amazing. And then like seconds later, he was in the ring with them while they threw buckets of soap at each other and made this giant mess. And like there was a mess on a car and there was a mess on the ring, and that just everybody was covered in soap. And I was like, this is incredible. These are people. This is a job.
Yep.
That I need to do that. That's what I need to do for the rest of my life, or as at some point as a career. So I like I said, that was my first show, and then every year from then on, I'd go to the show for my birthday. I got the program. I read every single article there was to read, like as to try and learn as much about clowns as possible. I had all my favorites. When I eventually joined the show, I was on the red unit, but I did grow up, admittedly, a blue unit fan. There will be red unit clowns that groan because.
Oh, so you have a Purple Heart?
Yeah, just a little bit. I still bleed red. I bleed red. There's a friendly rivalry between the 2 units for non-circus people to know. Between the old red and blue units. They used to say better dead than red. And we used to say we'll be through before we go blue, like little petty jabs like that. But yeah, I had my favorites. I was a big fan of, like I said, Tom and Tammy Parrish. I give them all the credit in the world for making me want to be a clown. But then my first like real favorite was the guy named by the name of David Solov on the Blue Unit.
Oh yeah.
I just thought he was the coolest. I don't know what it was about him. He had like purple hair and like just this awesome face and like just such a great look. Um, but David Solov, Todd Zimmerman, Tom Wheaton, Greg Parks, like a lot of Blue Unit clowns. I like some of the Red Unit clowns, Max Richardson. Um, J- mm, yeah, I had favorites. I had favorites on both units. But I grew up, like I said, a really big fan of the Blue Unit. Um, but then that all came to a head when I want to say I was about 13. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm a little too old for this. Like my last show was, for a while at least, was in 2005. And that was the show that, like, don't get me wrong, it was a fun show. But that was the show that I noticed, like, there were some changes from like when I was a little kid, even in that short span of me going to the show. There were some changes going on with the show that I was like, okay. And also, I was a teenager, so I was like, all right, girls, video games, pro wrestling. That's my life now. This circus stuff, that's for kids. I don't need that anymore. So
So
a couple of years, what's up?
so real quick. So you went from terrified to clowns to being a clown.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is
A lot of
amazing.
people, no, and a lot of people don't know that about me, but yeah, I was petrified for years of clowns. And it was um, like I said, Stephen King's It. I love that movie now. Tim Curry is amazing in it. And I'm fascinated by like how they put the makeup on him. That's always been like a core interest of mine, is like movie makeup and makeup in general. That was one of the things I was interested in about clowns. But yeah, like, don't take your 3-year-old or let him watch a VHS of Stephen King's It. Bad idea.
All right.
But I got out of the circus for a few years. Come high school, the ninth grade, it took me a few months to realize it, but I had every single class, the same schedule, like lunch, gym, math, every single class you can think of, first through eighth period, in common with one person.
Hmm.
So that happened, and we realized that very quickly, and we were. I always like to coin it frenemies. No.
Yeah, I I didn't even know he existed until like a third into the year. I
Crazy.
didn't even realize he was in my classes. I didn't notice. I think I met him via art class through one of the other kids that were talking to him in our groups. Um, and then eventually we became friends, but it was always like love hate friendship where we're not very nice to each other, but we're
Mm-mm.
always hanging out with each other and we're
We
always slamming a door in each other's faces, but we're
we
still always together every day.
we had the worst nicknames for each other. I used to kick her. I kick her in the shin underneath the desk at English class. I remember that. In art class, me and the boys, because she was a girl in the friend group of boys, we drew a horrible, not to be spoken about comic book where she was the star. At least you were the star. Um, yeah, we were kind of terrible to her for a
And
while.
I don't
Teenage
know why,
boys.
and probably, yeah, it's dumb teenage young boys. And I don't know why, because really, he wasn't all that in a bag of potato chips. But
Listen,
I, at some point, started having a crush on him. And
you heard it here. It is for the world to hear.
uh,
I was the catch.
yeah, okay. And
I was the goal at the end.
I don't know. I ended up
I
having a
was the.
crush on him. I used
Nope,
to
I'm not
think,
letting this go. I was the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
sure, very small pot of gold. I thought he was funny, and that's why I started liking him. Despite him being a jerk half of the time.
Oh
I
yeah.
just thought he was funny. So I told a friend of mine back then. I think we were chatting on Uvu. It was like the
No, I'm pretty sure it was like
Facebook Messenger or
no, it was
AOL.
AIM.
AIM on AOL.
AIM, which I don't even think exists anymore.
I told her, because I had a feeling that she was going to rat me out, and that's what I wanted. But I didn't have the courage enough to tell somebody I like them. So I told her, and she told him. And then the next day when we went to school,
you skip a big detail. You told her, you told her, I said, I know, super obvious. And then she goes, oh, you guys should try going out. And I was like, I guess it probably won't work out, but whatever, I guess.
The only reason I even said anything at all, because I don't think I would have ever said anything, probably is because he kissed a girl in our class.
This is not necessary.
And I was like, oh, no. I said something to progress it. And then after, the next day we were hanging out, and as we normally do, we were just hanging out. But that day we kind of separated from all our other friends and we went on our own. He walked me home, and I walked him to the bus stop, which was near our house. This is
Brooklyn.
Is in New York, so buses and trains to get everywhere. And I don't remember who asked. I've asked him this question, but we can't remember. And I think I'm the one that asked the question. It was a long time ago.
This is 2007 we're talking about.
I think I'm the one that asked the question because I'm very impatient. I was then, I am now. So I think I wanted to know where this was going. So I said, so are we boyfriend and girlfriend now? And I think his words were, I guess.
That sounds right. I guess.
18 years later, we're married. We have 2 children, a dog, and a turtle, and a house. So that worked out.
And a mortgage.
I rarely went to the circus when I was a kid. I knew of it. I actually have a picture of me dressed up as a clown for one of my Halloweens when I was a little kid. I liked clowns, but circus life wasn't a big part of my life. Until I met him, and then into my older teenage years and adulthood. He told me that he used to have a love for the circus when he was a little kid. So I think 2 years into us dating, we were about 16.
2 years, exactly right.
I saw that Zing Zang Zoom for the Red Unit, I believe. 17. They were coming to Madison Square Garden. So I was like, oh, this will make a cool gift, because they were coming around the time of his birthday. So I said, okay, this would be a cool gift. It'd be a throwback. I've never really, or I don't know. I can't say whether Zing Zang Zoom was my first show. I remember going to the circus as a child, but it was maybe once or twice. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Universal Circus. I don't think I, at that point, had seen any circus that wasn't in a tent. I don't think I've ever been to an arena show to see a circus. So I think Zing Zang Zoom was my first arena Ringling Brothers circus.
Yeah, I went to them all. I grew up going to Universal. Ringling was my favorite, but I saw Universal. I want to say I saw Big Apple.
I think maybe I saw Big Apple, maybe. But that was also in a tent. So.
But yeah, she took me to Zing Zang Zoom, and at that point, I was old enough to make like big life decisions. I was 17. Like, I knew what my decisions were, and I knew what I wanted. I sat down in that chair, and as the show started, I cried. I was so happy. It was like coming home. And it was in that moment that I decided, okay, this is something I really, really want to do still. And she supported me the whole way. And like, we started like playing with makeup together, which is like a weird thing to say out loud, but in context, yeah.
It was a completely different thing that I hadn't been exposed to. And when I saw the show closer to my adulthood, I liked it. I liked the music. I liked the costumes. I liked the choreography. I liked the animals. I liked the makeup. I liked the clowns. I liked the skits. I liked the variety. I liked everything about it. So
just being in front of thousands of people on a nightly basis, to go out and like hang out with your friends in a very choreographed way, but like just like go out and have fun. Having fun for a living is just such a big thing for me that I saw that and I was like, no, why would I want to do anything else? That's what I want to do.
So he started getting back into it. We started doing some research on schools that could help train us with makeup or skills. I remember when we were teenagers, we started buying little props and things just so we can teach ourselves how to juggle or how to anything. We did have a brief period where we did birthday parties, first with just friends or family. It didn't last really long,
Not
but
for me.
it wasn't enjoyable for him, but I enjoyed it, and I just thought it added some experience, period, of what we were trying to do.
Don't get me wrong, and like there was a lot of like problem solving and like getting into makeup and like doing like the basics, but like for me, it just wasn't what I wanted. I wanted like to perform. Like I didn't want to paint faces and make balloons. I wanted to perform. I wanted to make people laugh. And in hindsight, I could have used those opportunities a little bit better to like hone it and like make those kids laugh, even if it was a birthday party. But like my mind was dead set. Like I wanted Ringling and nothing else.
Show.
So when she mentioned schools, we went to the Slapstick Dojo in the city, is what New Yorkers call it, but in Manhattan. And we were trained by Christopher Lewick, who's an amazing physical comedian.
Great teacher.
Mm-hmm. Joel Jeske, who again goes right back to the Blue Unit. I remember seeing Joel Jeske on the VHS tape, and there was a quote from that video that I quoted to him, and he finished it, and my mind exploded. In that video, he goes, and I'm pretty sure I might be paraphrasing, but he goes, "You make the right connection, they're going to remember you for years and years and years." And I just hurt myself. And like, I started saying that to him and he finished it. And I was like, oh my, this is amazing. Like my mind melted. And then also a former Red Unit clown, Mike Richter, who I met at my final show that I saw before Zing Zang Zoom. So like, it was just super cool to be like in the presence of like former Ringling clowns, like, and learning like slapstick, because I've never been the quickest learner. So like skills were not like juggling, like, wire walking and unicycling, like all of that stuff is right. All of that stuff, like I was fascinated by it, but that was never like a focus for me, because I'm like, the stilt walkers can walk stilts, the jugglers can juggle. I'm gonna focus on doing stuff to make people laugh. But again, like in all of this is in hindsight, I could have used those things to like add to the repertoire, and like I can basic juggle, but slapstick and physical comedy, I love that stuff. So the Slapstick Dojo was like a second home for a couple of years. Fun fact, in that class I met Mariko Iwasa. I pray that I did not just butcher her name. I love her so much. But she made it onto the road before me on the Blue Show, which is just unfortunate for her. But she eventually came over to the right side, the red side, in the last few months, right before the Red Unit closed. So we both got to do slapstick in the middle of the ring on Ringling together. So like that was 2012 or 2011, I want to say. We were at the Slapstick Dojo learning, and then years later we wound up performing together on the show. So that was amazing.
2017.
Oh yeah.
While we were teenagers, we still were going to school. We eventually started working as well, but
we skipped a big school.
What?
We talked about the Slapstick Dojo. We skipped a big school, Mooseburger.
I know. We went to, but that's later. We didn't go to that when we were.
We're jumping around anyway. I figure we're on the topic of school.
You're jumping around.
Wow.
When we were in school, we found out. We read about it on the newspaper that
you told me you saw it in a commercial.
Or a commercial. I might be lying. The Gold Unit for Ringling Brothers was going to be coming for the first time to Coney Island. So they were going to do a tent show. So they put out an ad that they were hiring for anybody and everybody, ushers, ticket takers, people to set up and tear down, concessions. They just needed crew and staff, and they just needed people. They had the performers, I think management, but they needed literally everybody else. So I saw that, and it was during the summer. So I said, okay, let's apply. And
what a cool summer job.
We applied. Yeah. We both got hired. And we thought that would help with learning and just getting a little bit closer. We befriended a lot of the performers. We learned things from them. It was great. We got to watch the show daily because we got to see, hands-on what they did behind the scenes to learn. We made quite a few friends on the shows, and we would hang out with them after work or show them around New York since we were from New York.
And speaking of the Gold Unit and hanging with the performers, I am remiss. I forgot to mention when I was talking about Red Unit clowns that I was a fan of. I completely forgot to mention Dean Kelly, and he is going to lash me for that. Because this has become a pretty tall tale amongst us clowns. He knows this, so many of them know this.
We'd have met him there. No? I mean, you met him ahead of that.
Yeah, I did. You can say that because I met Dean Kelly when I was 11 at the 133rd edition, and that was in Madison Square Garden. That was his 1st of May year, and for non-circus people, 1st of May is your first year on the road. So he was this brand new clown, had only been on the road for a couple months. And I normally, for years prior to that, I had my routine. I would go to the show, the pre-show or the 3-ring adventure, whatever they were calling it at the time, would be happening, and I would just sit in the seats and read my program. I was way too shy. I wish I wasn't, but I was way too shy to go down to the floor and talk to these people and be like, hey, this is what I want to do. Can I have advice? Take pictures, get autographs, none of that. So 2003, I'm sitting in the seats and I'm reading my program. And for some reason, Dean was a 1st of May. So he had the smallest picture on the page. I'm talking the size of my thumb. And for some reason, I told my mom and I was like, hey, I want to go meet him. And he was the one clown that made me, in all my years of going to the show, get up out of my seat and go down to the floor and seek him out. And I still have the picture. I showed it to him when I got on the road, but yeah, Dean
I was going to ask that question. Did you show it to him once you started working?
Oh, of course. So going back to the Gold Unit, I'm jumping around a lot. She's right. So I met Dean as a kid when I was 11, but then we met again the second year. So we started working the Gold Unit in summer of 2009. And then we wound up working the Gold Unit in the summer of 2010. But yeah, Dean was and still is probably my favorite Ringling clown of all time. So to my surprise, I knew he had left the show for a few years, did not expect him back. People move on. It is what it is. But we were on the Gold Unit in the summer of 2009, and then we graduated in 2010. And in that same summer, we were back on the Gold Unit, and who was there but Dean Kelly? So every single show I'm watching and I'm studying as much as I possibly can and soaking in as much as I possibly can for my hero, my idol. As far as Ringling Clowns, he's been called the Swiss Army knife of clowning because he can do everything. So that was amazing. He was gracious enough one time to sit us both down and in his trailer and watch him put on his makeup. And again, in that moment, I should be studying. I should be paying attention. But in that moment, I'm just a 9-year-old kid. Just gritting ear to ear. I'm like, this is so cool.
This is amazing.
Right. So we're 18 and that's 2010. And our time with the Gold Unit comes to an end. And who would call but Ringling and be like, hey, we heard you guys wanted to be on the show. We have a spot for backstage crew on the Red Unit. So we are 18 years old. I am at home.
Just finished high school.
I will never forget it. I told my mom, hey, so can you take us to the airport? We just joined the circus. And she lost it. I remember more vividly, she cried a lot at the airport because we were two 18-year-old kids leaving immediately after we're supposed to leave, which is 18. All right, you're out of here. But no, we're actually out of here.
We left with 2 book bags. I don't even think we had suitcases. Yep. I don't even think we had suitcases. We just had book bags, and That's it.
Yeah.
Some clothes.
We had
we had
the
each
clothes in our
other,
bags.
our phones, and
At 18, that's all we needed.
Yeah, we left. We were
So
gonna start working. We both got hired for backstage crew.
ironically, with this show that made me fall back in love with Ringling on Zing Zang Zoom, we joined Zing Zang Zoom working backstage. So a lot of those clowns that we met at the pre-show the year before, they're like, "Hey, aren't you guys?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So like, that was really cool.
We got towards the end of it. We joined towards the end of the show.
Yeah, because tours on Ringling back then would run for about 2 years. They would do one loop a little closer to the East Coast, then another loop around like California. So like we would do summers in California, like just a summer long stretch in California the first year. Then the following year we do a summer long stretch in Texas. And so we joined I want to say right after Texas. I'll never forget the city. Moline.
It was around fall.
Yeah, it was in September. It was Moline, Illinois. I will never forget it. Moline has my heart because that was the city we officially joined the show in. Years later, I joined the show in Rosemont as a clown. But Moline has my heart as my first city on the road.
We weren't, well, he wasn't performing yet, but we loved the time and experience that we got as backstage crew because we hadn't traveled at that point. We were in school, we were kids, we just got hired to work full time because before we weren't even working full time because we were in high school. So now we were working full time. We had no parents. We were on our own. It was just me and him.
Our own money.
On a train and with a bunch of strangers.
Mind you, in a room that you could not open your arms all the way out. Like, you see how
the coffin.
Yeah, it was a literal coffin. The way I can open my arms all the way and touch like one wall and not the other in my hallway, I could not do that in my train room. It was like yay big.
And back then we weren't married. We were just together. So we each got a coffin. They put him on 53 car. And it was a car with just basically a bunch of other crew members, and every crew member on the car every crew person on the car were men. And they put me, I guess, I don't even remember what number it was. I think it was like 47. And
I'm almost positive you wound up living on 53.
They put me on, I think it was 47 or 46. And I think they had female crew members on that car. And there wasn't a separation in genders. It wasn't a big deal.
Purpose.
I just think that's the way they did it because it was easier for like the showers and sharing washers and dryers for guys to be together and girls to be together. So
that makes sense.
That was horrifying to me though, because I was in a place that I didn't know anybody. Everybody spoke different languages. We're from different places. And it was our first time being apart and being away from home. So I told him no. So as small as the bed was, and I assure you the bed is probably just a tad bigger than half the size of a twin size mattress.
It's 2.5 feet.
Just enough for one person. It's smaller than a twin size mattress, but it's maybe the size of a cot type bed.
Yep.
I think we slept apart maybe the first night or two. And then on the third night, I told him, no, I don't want to sleep by myself all the way down there. So
we made it work. We fit like
I spoke to management and they gave us a second room on that car. And so I got moved over. So I was the only girl in a car filled with 12 guys. And eventually we were sleeping separate, but on the same train car. But then I would sleep over in his room once in a while. And then we got used to, I don't know how, because now that I'm 33 years old, I can't imagine sleeping in anything smaller than a king size bed.
We argue about the king size bed now. I cannot fathom how we made it work, but we did. We slept like puzzle pieces in that tiny
spooning
room.
Every night.
You know, what we did was we made one room the bedroom and the other room was the kitchen.
And dining.
Our beds would transform. And we could make it a table if we needed to by moving the cushions and
like an RV, similar to RV.
So we were like, first of all, no, we're not doing that. That's a lot of work.
We didn't want to set that up every single day.
And then, but then also like for logistics sake, like when we would go shopping at Walmart, we just took all of our food, put it in this one room, put everything away in the fridge.
Every cabinet have food.
Left the table down and set up and ready to go so we can sit down and eat, and then locked it. And then the other room, we would sleep, we would live and play
TV,
PS3 at the time, which is insane. Yeah, we made it work, but it was rough.
It was.
You had your own mini pie car.
We did. Literally. We had, and it was the most frightening thing because I remember at first when we first joined, I didn't realize how thin these walls were going to be.
Oh yeah,
because we could hear everybody walking past, everybody taking a shower, anybody playing music, and man, when I tell you, we had the most annoying neighbor.
We grew to love
I hope
him.
he sees this at some point, but his name was Brown. Everybody called him Brown. He's this big teddy bear. And I later came to find out his name was Kenneth. And I was like, "Oh, you're such a thug." Yes, yeah, Kenneth Brown.
What a tough guy. Love
but he used to play music obnoxiously every morning as he was getting ready to go to work. And it got to the point where we would start jamming.
Yeah.
We knew every freaking song.
You love it or you leave it. And he got used to it.
We got used to it.
It was amazing because I spoke about the size earlier, but like it's not for everybody, and I get that. But for 2 kids straight out of high school, it was ours. Like it was tiny, but it was ours. It was our own little space. And it once, especially like when you're done with a long day, like we would load in at whatever time in the morning and not get home until it was pitch black at night. And then like the 3 show days were again just very long, exhausting
18-hour
days.
Like,
yep. So when we would get back home, and by home I mean that tiny room that we nicknamed the coffin, it was ours. It was home.
We made a lot of friends on the circus, friends that we still have now.
We were only on the road for a little less than a year.
Just under a year. We left because we were learning things while we were on the show, and we loved traveling.
I had auditioned right prior to joining the Red Show as backstage. This is rewinding a little bit, jumping around. That summer we were on the Gold Unit, and then at the Gold Unit on the site, they had an audition, and I was like, "Oh, I'm old enough. Let's go out and wing it. Let's go see what happens." And I got really close. So we auditioned together. Unfortunately, she didn't make it to the next round, where you sit down and like they call your number and like they do interviews and like that sort of deal. I did. So I was on cloud 9. This is my first interview out. Like I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm gonna be a Ringling Clown. So we joined the road. We're on the road for a few months, and a gentleman by the name of David Kaiser, who was he was the guy that hired people. I don't know what that position is called. I think it's like performance director or whatever the case may be.
I think he was the performance director. He'd go out and found the talent, and yeah.
Right. But he's former Ringling Clown, very talented, has the most distinct laugh you will ever hear. David is awesome, but I bumped into him. He was just backstage on the show one day, and we talked about it, and he gave me some advice that I took to heart. I thought about for don't get me wrong. I want to say my timeline is probably not all that accurate, but it was like November when I saw him, and he was like, "Hey, I know what you want to do. This is not the way to do it." Again, I'm paraphrasing, but he was essentially saying in order to go out and become a clown, you got to get experience being a clown. You're not going to learn how to improvise. You're not going to learn how to navigate the audience, and you're not going to learn like moments of stillness, like all of these different technical performance aspect type stuff. You're not going to learn that moving props. You're not going to learn that building stages.
Since we did work such long hours.
We had no time, and again, it was the experience that was necessary is to get in front of an audience, build a routine, build some type of something, and put it in front of people, even if those people are your family. It doesn't have to be paid gigs, but like get out and get some experience. So fast forward to, I want to say it was like February, March. The show was in Long Island, and we were like, close enough, we're gonna go home. And we did. So that was 2011. Yeah, because it was shortly after winter quarters were fully charged. 2011, we went home, and we did everything we could. We worked odd jobs here and there, but that was 2011 that we got back home. And fast forward, the summer of 2011, I was speaking about Moose Camp earlier. So the summer of 2011, we were like, hey, what are we going to do as far as like formally learning? How do you even do that? Because in 2011, there was no brick and mortar. There was no brick and mortar clown college. There was no like, hey, send an application and maybe you'll get to go. The original brick and mortar clown college closed, I want to say, when I was 5.
1997.
So I was 5.
Yep.
So that wasn't an option. And then I forget how we found out about it, but Mooseburger Clown Arts Camp, which is the real name of this place, named after the queen of Mooseburger Camp, Trisha Manuel, Priscilla Mooseburger herself.
Still running strong today.
Oh yeah. We found out about this place, and I was like, hey, I recognize some of these teachers, and they were like former Ringling clowns that I had studied up on. And Trisha herself is a former Ringling clown. Greg DeSanto, who was on the podcast, he's a former Ringling clown and one of my favorites. Neil Skoy was there. So like there and a few more. And like, so I was like, okay, this is obviously like a reputable place to go and learn. And so that's what I did. And I learned from Karen Bell, who was a former Red Unit clown, and her partner that affected me in a way I never, ever anticipated, Robin Urich, the late great. He saw something in me that year. Like it was 2011, so I was a 19-year-old kid. He saw something in me that year that, like, we spoke about how we're driven by music, like when we create like material and like and performance and like life in general. We spoke about so much. We connected on such a level. I miss him. That 2 years later, this is 2013, we're working at McDonald's overnight just because it paid more. And by paid more, I mean in 2013, it was $8.50 an hour to work all night long at McDonald's and then try and somewhat have a life during the day. But we decide, hey, so like we've done Moose Camp, let's go to New York Goofs. They seem pretty good, like, and they're right here. We don't have to like take a Greyhound bus, however many hours we did to go to Moose Camp like we did 2 years ago. Let's go to New York Goofs. So we were setting the wheels in motion. We were trying to save our money. And I'll never forget it. Robin, he sent me a message. He was like, hey, what do you got going on this summer? And I was like, oh, we're going to go to New York Goofs, to continue learning. He goes, no, you're not. You're coming to Moose Camp. I'm like, no, I don't know if you misunderstood, but we already did Moose Camp. We're going to go to New York Goofs. He goes, no, you don't understand. We have something special going on this year, and I want you to be a part of it. And I was like, wow. Okay, that sounds cool. Like I had no details or no idea what was going on that year. But he tells me, and I was like, but we really, that sounds awesome, but we don't really have the money. We're working at McDonald's. We're like performing every now and then, a lot of the times for free.
So at that point, I want to jump in there. At that point, Me and Brian had already auditioned twice.
Oh yeah.
Or was it? I believe
Yeah, it was twice.
We
It was
auditioned on the
once
Gold
in
Unit.
2010 in the Gold Unit,
When we
once in
were
2012 on the Blue Unit.
just turning 18, we had auditioned. We were like really early. We auditioned when else?
2012 on the Blue Unit on Dragons. I'll never forget it because it was a terrible audition. I was going through a really, really tough loss in my life, and I let it affect my performance. But that 2012 in general was a rough year.
And then he went to Moose Camp again.
No, so I went to Moose Camp in 20. We went to Moose Camp in 2011. 2013, when I got the message, I spoke to Robin. I told him we didn't really have the money. He set me up with a scholarship that didn't make it free, but made it so much more affordable. And I don't even know if I ever got a chance to thank him. But he reached out, and like I by myself wound up going to Moose Camp. The money that we had saved up for both of us to go to New York Goose, we put that into a flight. I think a hotel. My memory is fuzzy. But yeah, and then the week at Moose Camp.
Yeah, and when everything was said and done, it was only enough for one of us to go. And since Robin had reached out to him, he said, "Okay, well, you should go. You gotta go. Yeah. There's no way you can't go." So we sent him. Yeah.
So I got a question real quick.
Yeah, what's up?
When did you develop your face? Is that before Moose Burger?
So that's a really good question. I went through several. And even when I got on the road, there was so much imposter syndrome that I will get into when we get to that point in the story. But that I went through a couple of different changes, and yeah, I was lucky to get on the year that I did. But so I went to Moose Camp for the second time in 2013. And again, I'm jumping all over the place, but I would again be remiss to mention that in 2011, when we went, not only did we meet like heroes of mine and all these other wonderful performers and clowns, but we met Julia in 2011. We met Julia, who is Trisha's daughter.
And the clown.
Yep. And then so in 2013, Julia, myself, and Ben Macon, who was a former Red Unit clown, we all were in a group that we nicknamed, because if this doesn't date us, I don't know what will, but we named our group Sharknado. There were, I want to say, 8 or 9 of us who were all planning on auditioning post-camp. So we got to be unbelievably, like, just so close. We would stay up all night talking about stuff, and we would, we were all in like a lot of the similar classes, and we just like formed this bond. Like post camp was like, it was rough coming back home. It was like, oh man, that was over. That sucks. But you move on. It's the post camp blues.
But then the audition came.
But then the auditions came around,
and my mom drove us
17 hours. 17 hours from Brooklyn to St. Louis, Missouri.
Fun city.
Oh yeah, St. Louis is awesome. But the intent was for her to audition, because I don't know.
Both of us.
No, I don't know why, but I didn't plan on auditioning for that one. I'm pretty sure it was strictly to have you audition. And I got there, and I remember thinking, being surrounded by all these other like-minded people who wanted the same thing, I was like, sorry, I kind of got to throw my name into the hat. Like, I want to try it. So I had a ton of fun. I don't think we met, but at that same audition was one of our best friends, Chase Culp.
We love Chase.
Chase is amazing. He's one of the funniest people I know, still clowning today.
I'm like 90% sure I talked to him at that audition.
The audition process is such a blur and such a like mess of like excitement and anxiety that I don't ever remember anything.
So before we get further into the audition in St. Louis, what was the special thing at Moose Burger Camp?
So essentially, they had, I don't know if they had contacted all of us, but there were, like I said, Sharknado. Our group was being groomed and being specifically taught Ringling style clowning. So we were being taught, like, while everybody, because Mooseburger Clown House Camp, it encompasses pretty much everything there is to know about clowning in a week. It's insane. It's like boot camp for clowning, but it's so much fun. We were taught, the group of us, we were taught arena positioning. We were taught what the front track and end track and back track were. We were taught which ring was rich. Oh my God. Which ring was which? I cannot say that sentence, but
the numbers on
the
rings.
numbers on the rings. We were taught that. But yeah, like specific to Ringling style clowning bits and pieces of information. And so like I had no idea. I got there and like I met all these people and like class would be dismissed and like the group of us would stay behind. And they'd be like, hey, here's this worksheet, read through it. And it'd be like, I almost want to say I could be completely wrong, but like I remember I might still have that paperwork, but I'm pretty sure it was like photocopies of like old clown college stuff. And it was talking about like the three different types of clowns: whiteface, Auguste, and character. It was talking about some history of Ringling and like I said, the rings and where they go and what the different tracks in the arena are. And like
they didn't officially say it, but I felt like they were scouting certain people, kind of like what they would do at a football
getting ready
game.
for the next generation.
Yeah.
Right. It's funny that you say that because every year Moose Camp will have a guest to come in and teach or observe, and like it's usually like a special, kind of acclaimed clown who's been there, done that, and is coming in as a guest for that one camp season and pass along what they know. That year was none other than Peggy Williams, who is, if I'm not mistaken, the first female to graduate clown college and get a contract on the road. So yes. You want to talk about a literal Ringling encyclopedia of knowledge? Yeah, that was her. It was.
We're still trying to get her on the show.
Listen, that would be an amazing show because I'm sure she's got stories for days. But that was insane. Like I said, that was the first female to graduate clown college and get a contract. And I watched her put on her makeup, which I was just like, again, like it was going back to like watching Dean put on his makeup in the trailer. It was like, again, I should be studying. I should be paying more attention. But I was a child. I just sat there and I'm like, this is so cool. And then that never left. That passion, I got no other words for it. That never left. I have loved clowns and circus my whole life, and I probably always will.
Third edition, you auditioned.
Yeah, so after all of that, we, like I said, 17-hour drive to St. Louis. The bug bit me. Did not intend to audition. I don't know why, but I didn't intend on auditioning, but I did. And I remember David Kaiser was at the audition, and he gave a really good piece of advice that I don't do advice well. But in that moment, I was like, I should probably listen. He told everyone, hey, if you do not have a piece to present, because the way the auditions would be structured is there'd be introductions, then there'd be improv games to play, and then after a brief break, everybody would have the opportunity to get up in front of, I don't want to say the judges, but whoever was there, like the producers, the directors, etc., and present their material. Again, I didn't plan on auditioning. I had been helping. I had been helping you with yours for a long time. I did the voiceover for her gag. I had nothing, so I didn't present anything. He said you would rather you come up with something you've prepared and present that than get up there, wing it, and ruin a potentially good audition. And I'm like, okay. I got nothing prepared, so I'm not gonna present.
I mean, there were other things in the audition. It wasn't just the skits. So they had little exercises that they would
the improv games.
So he did all of the improv games, and but he didn't do a skit.
I sat on the sidelines and I watched everybody. I took a mic and I did the voiceover for Your Gag, which I still think was very funny. It was like something to the effect of teaching how to sit like a lady. And I was on the mic like doing a British accent, like trying to describe no, like teaching her how to sit. It was awesome. But then at the end of that audition, I was like, I went to David Kaiser, and I've never told anybody this before, but I told him like, hey, this is my third audition. I essentially need to know, like, if there's hope, obviously I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep on. But like, I was 21 at that time, the ripe old age of 21. And I was like, hey, so like I'm working at McDonald's overnight in order to, make money to buy makeup and like make costumes and like make gigs. Should I be staying up during the day to wait for a phone call? Because I will stay up. I have no problem doing that if this is going somewhere. But I obviously need to get rest for work. But I'll sleep at some point.
Not him putting the pressure. Like, hey, you're gonna call?
No, it was nothing like that. It was just like it was a logistic thing. Like you got to understand, I was working from 11 p.m. to I want to say 6 a.m. Right, and then we would go home.
I think it was 10 to 6. We worked 10 to 6.
Yeah, it was something crazy like that. And we would sleep all day, wake up and do it all over again the next night because, surviving in New York City. And I asked him all of this and he put my mind at ease the easiest way possible. He told me we practically have a contract with your name on it.
Oh, wow.
At my audition. And I was like, oh, alrighty then, I'm gonna go home and get some sleep. So
how did that make you feel?
So like I was overwhelmed, but like I've always been like a glass half empty, I guess, like a pessimist type of person. I just like to live a little more realistic so that way I don't get disappointed. It's probably not the most healthy, but that's not why we're here. So I was like, I still had to like cross my T's and dot my I's, however that saying goes. I wasn't entirely sure about it, essentially. Because, anything can happen. He says that now, but what if there are more auditions? What if they find someone better? That's always, always, always in the back of my mind.
No faith.
And so a few weeks goes by and turns out I didn't have to wait for a call. Because I woke up one morning and I got an email and it was from Feld Entertainment and it said that I had gotten accepted into their version of Clown College. And when I say I lost my mind, I absolutely lost my mind.
This was end of 2013.
Yeah, close. It was, I got the email in like September, October. It was more like September because I remember in October, like, after the dust had settled and like I was done, like being like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They want me. I got homework. They were like, hey, like, what do you want your costume to be? And I was like, oh my God, this homework is amazing. What do you want your costume to look like as far as like color schemes? Do you have a face already? What are your measurements? Like, because, for costume fittings and all that, I had to be ready.
He had to go to a tailor to get measured.
I went to a tailor in New York and was like, hey, measure me. I need to know all of this here. Because they emailed me like the sheet of like
every measurement you can think of.
A blank body with lines that pointed to pieces of that body and like they needed the measurements for it. So I was like, here, you're a tailor, measure me. But yeah, I was absolutely ecstatic. It was my literal 4-year-old dream come true. Like I said earlier, 2012 was a rough year, but 2013, it was just a weird series of like domino effects that year it's one of the best years of my life.
And he did winter quarters.
But after I got the call, I got flown out to Rosemont. And again, like you would think at this point, they'd be like, all right, sick. I got the thing that I've wanted my whole life. Nah, that whole time in the back of my head, that little voice was like, hey, you realize this is still only clown college. You realize you haven't got a contract, right? And so like the whole time I'm taking it in, I'm trying to enjoy it, but that voice is still in the back of my head, and it's like it's almost like a PSA about mental health, but like it's true. Like I was so excited and unbelievably like over the moon, and like all the feelings, but at the same time, I was there with so many amazingly talented people that I was like, okay, I made it. I'm in Rosemont. I am with these cool, amazingly funny and talented people that I just saw at the Barclays Center a few months ago. Because when I joined, when Clown College, it was for not Circus Extreme. It was for Built to Amaze, which rewind. It was the first year of Circus Extreme. Built to Amaze, the 143rd edition. Rewind a few months in February at the Barclays Center when Jeff Brennan, who was in the show as a clown at the time, when he went headfirst into that 45-gallon bucket of soap, I remember so vividly. I pointed to everyone in my row who was with me. I said, that right there. As soon as he went in the bucket of soap, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's the specific, like, of course, I wanted to join Ringling. I just wanted to be a part of it. But ever since the 126th edition, I wanted to be in what is called a soap gag, where you grind up bars of shaving soap and you mix it with a big paint mixer and water and make this fluffy, cool material, because pies are sticky and nasty and meant to be eaten, not on your face. So that's not too well-known secret, is that, yeah, we're using shaving soap. So that year they had a big soap gag for the first time in years. And it was that I was like, that's what I want to do. So like, even with all of this stuff in the back of my head, I was like, I still don't even have a contract. Like,
how many days was
Clown College? I want to say it was about a week. So like which is crazy because like without context, that means nothing. Moose Camp was a week. Clown College on the road was a week. I'm pretty sure New York Goofs, like that's your standard modern day crash course of clowning. When I say without context, that means nothing. But I mean, when I tell you Clown College, the brick and mortar was like months. It was like 3 months.
It was 10 weeks
or something like that. Yeah, it was insane.
How many people were in the Clown College?
8 guys.
With me, it was about 10 of, I don't remember. I honestly, I wish I did remember. That's actually a stat. I don't remember, but
how many got taken?
All of us. So like when we get to, I didn't realize you were conducting the interview.
I don't remember, so I was asking.
Curious.
Hey, y'all doing a great job.
No, she's your new co-host. So Clown College in Rosemont. The voice is still in the back of my head. I'm not sure if I'm getting a contract at all. But I'm still like trying to have a good time, soak it all in. It's really hard to do that when you show up and sitting in, first of all, walking into Clown Alley is just the most overwhelming thing when you're a 4-year-old kid who dreams about it and draws pictures in your notebook at school, and like that's all you've ever wanted. So like that's super overwhelming as is. And then I walk in and who's sitting there but Dean Kelly? I'm like, oh, sick. Dean is visiting. And then I find out, nah, Dean Kelly is joining. And I'm like, oh,
nice. Okay.
That's cool. Trying to play it cool, absolutely failing. But then, so, you know, we do all the things. We learn the choreography for the show. And at that point, I'm like, wait a minute. What's the point of us learning choreography if we don't even We're not even okay.
So school was
So
more.
I'm slightly less paranoid as time's going on. We're watching the show over and over again. We're paying attention to specific tracks and doing all the things. And then it all comes to an end. It's just over after that week, and every single one of us got a contract. And when I say I'm almost positive that hasn't happened before. Because that's exactly what clown college is supposed to be. It's essentially a callback. For non-performing people, I guess it would be like having a second interview. But then you go home and you get the email, hey, we love both of those interviews. Sorry you didn't get the job. We all got the job. So it was like a really, really cool thing. And on top of that, I got to be on the Red Unit. So I wanted to be on the Red Unit after touring with the Red Unit, working backstage. And then I got hired back on the Red Unit as a clown this time. So I saw a lot of the same faces working backstage, and they were all so happy. And it was just this really cool thing.
I remember him being nervous about that because it was like Harry Potter and the Sorting Hat. You never know what school you were going to get put into.
So not only that, but that's such a good point.
And he knew he wanted to stay where the soap gag was.
Yeah,
he didn't want to go to the Blue
I didn't
Unit.
want to go to the Blue Unit. It wasn't like a competitive thing. I would have taken whatever contract they gave me, but I specifically so badly I would have given a finger to be on the Red Unit because they had the big soap gag. And luckily I didn't have to because I got contracted to the Red Unit. So that was awesome. And again, that voice in the back of my head is sick. You got a contract. Congrats. You'll get to clean the mat for a year. And the reason why I say that, and again, that is all out of context. So this keeps going back to the 126 edition. In that program, in one of the articles, because they had a big soap gag that year, which is the reason why I wanted to do one so bad, I read in that program that it goes by seniority. So if you're a 1st of May or a brand new clown, you may make the soap, but you'll definitely clean the mat, but you will also not be in the gag. It was by senior order. The seniors who had been there for more than a year or two got to go in the gag, make the big mess, and have all the fun while you cleaned up after them. That was the hard and fast rule in my head until my boss clown, and that's a real thing for non-circus people. I told my mom that, and she's still tickled to this day that boss clown is a job title.
Oh yeah.
My boss clown, Taylor Albin, who is another fantastic clown. One of the clowns post. I didn't want to say my return to Ringling, but me coming back and seeing the show and being a fan again. He was one of the clowns post me coming back and seeing it. He really brought that sense of, I can tell this guy loves what he's doing. And here's Milo. Hi. Nosy. But Taylor, he comes to me and he tells me, hey, so how long can you hold your breath? And now, again, I've spoken several times about that voice. This is the part where I punched that voice in the face. And I lied straight to his face. I said 2 minutes. Whatever, no problem.
He has asthma.
I have asthma. So I told him, 2 minutes, because I knew exactly what he was asking. So I told him 2 minutes. He's like, okay, try this on. And it was Jeff's old soap gag costume. And on the inside, I am screaming. But I told him, sure, no problem, boss, got it. I tried it, and I'm a perfect fit. So, hard and fast rules be damned. As a 1st of May clown, I got to go head first into that 45-gallon bucket of shaving soap over 100 times. And that is only because I shared that spot with Ben Macon, who we go all the way back to Moose Camp together. We're still good friends to this day. Um, he was the other clown in that spot who got to go into the bucket. And yeah, so when I say my dreams came true, like I don't even know how many different dreams all came true like within like a span of 2 weeks. It was insane. I not only got the job of my lifetime, Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus. I was a circus clown, but I got to be on the red unit. I got to be in a soap gag. I got to work with an idol of mine who I met when I was 11 years old. Like, do you understand? Like, how?
That's
When
amazing.
I talk, it is when I talk about 2013 and the dominoes that like how does that even what is life at that point? Um, so so yeah, I got to go into the bucket and get absolutely drenched with soap over 100 times. I counted the amount of shows I did because in my head, always that voice was there. You never know when your last show is going to be for whatever reason. I was just always keeping track of little things like that. So like, I know how many times I went in the bucket. I know how many shows I did. Um, it was a dream come true. And so back then, we weren't married yet, Tatiana and I. When we were working backstage, we were just kids, and it was like this weird like dichotomy of like, oh, that's just your girlfriend, which I can understand to an extent because just your girlfriend, yeah, you guys can break up. Like, there's no reason to like remain a unit. I get that. But at this point, when I got my contract as a clown, we were married. Like that's my wife. So I asked, like, hey, so how does that work? Does she need to apply to get a job? Does she need to? No, she'll just fly back with you when you come back in January. And I was like,
Because
oh,
they had their
Very
break.
nice.
yeah. So
Winter
uh,
quarters.
after we were done in the Chicago area with winter quarters, not winter quarters, with Clown College, uh, the show wrapped up for holiday break in like early December and resumed in early January. So during that break, I was able to fly home and be like, hey, let's go on the road again.
Very
And
nice.
I flew back with him in January. I don't remember when the show was gonna start up again, but I know early January
It
I
was
was back.
probably like the
I
first
think
couple of days
I
of the
was
year.
back on the show like the first week or two. And I didn't have a job because since we were legally married, I could go with him. Um, he still had his small room. Um, so I don't remember our car number then. 32? Was it 32? It
Oh,
was 32.
yeah.
I'm like
Yeah, it was
90% sure it was 32. That was the clown
30.
car.
Yeah, 32 cents.
And I don't remember if they didn't have room for me then, but we shared the room. I think I was given another room at some point, but it was nowhere near 32, so we never even used it. I think we used it as storage.
It's making the most of a small space.
Yeah, I didn't work off the bat right away. I just kind of enjoyed watching him and the performances and listening to the music, and I was just
Taking pictures for all of us. You were
taking pictures and
unofficial
videos. I was always
alley
recording
photographer.
everybody for a pre-show, and anybody ever wanted to be recorded, I would always record everyone. And eventually I did start working again. I got hired for concessions, FCP. So
FCP.
for every show, every unit had the show side, we called it show side and FCP side. So Feld Consumer Products is what FCP stood for. And I didn't know that at the time. That's just concessions. But I didn't realize that even though the company was one big group and they all traveled together, they kind of separated those two entities of the areas of work. So at that point, I had only known show side. So I came over to the concession side, and I think I started very, very briefly. I started doing popcorn in the seats for like a week or two. And then after that, they told me a Dippin' Dot stand was available. And I said yes, because I didn't want to do stairs anymore. And I didn't want to be going up and down anymore. So I said, standing behind ice cream, no problem. So that's what I did. And I did that for months on end. I don't remember how long I did that. I came to be very close friends with so many people on the show, both show side because he was on show side and concession side because that's the side I was on. I actually met one of my closest best friends on that show. Her name then was Emma Varney. I don't know if you know her, or have met her, or remember her. She's now Emma Friendzone, but she was very, very poorly juggling. And at that point, because I had been to Moose Camp, I had been practicing and auditioning. I would practice with other performers. They would teach me things, and I knew how to juggle. I knew how to do balls, rings, clubs, scarves.
She's the skill person. I'm the
I was learning how to pass, and so I know how to juggle. So I walked over and I started teaching her, and that was the end of it. We were best friends. She's my children's godmother now.
That was what, 2014?
Yeah, that was 2014.
Oh my God, that was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, and then I did concessions that Dippin' Dot stand for a couple of months, and then eventually I was upgraded to photo booth. And I love doing that because I interacted with families and kids. I got to play around with kids to try and get them to smile. I did that.
Were you
for
the
a couple
tiger
more
or
months.
elephant?
I had one of the tigers. We had two tigers. I think there was a brown one and a white one. I really like the white one, but I had the brown one. And there was an elephant.
Yep.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Emma had the elephant. She also was doing concessions.
I couldn't remember which of the two of you had it, but I knew y'all both had the tiger and elephant.
Mm-hmm. I think she had the elephant. The elephant was like the best seller. Everybody wanted the elephant.
Yeah, it was cuter.
And I think
the tigers, I think,
so
were like
cute.
the same old tigers
And
that they
the
had been
tigers
using
were
for
the
years.
same style too. There was one was white, one was brown.
Like, I'm almost positive I took a picture of one of those tigers as a kid. Like,
But I did that for a while, and then so all this is while Brian's performing. So I think the first year or so, it was the second year of Built to Amaze.
yeah, it was
that I kind of floated around different jobs in FCP. And then closer to a year after that, but starting like Circus Extreme, there was an opening for, man, I cannot remember the job title, but merch distribution for FCP. So I drove a truck and I picked up merchandise. I emptied out semi trucks and I distributed all the, it was a lot. And so I drove and also worked outside in any weather. So if it was freezing or snowing, whatever city it was in, it did not matter because things needed to be sold on the concourse. So we had to get everything to everyone.
That was a lesson. That was a lesson we got taught by Julia specifically, backstage in Clown Alley. You know, sometimes it rains.
Oh yeah.
We give her crap for that because she would just point out that whenever we had to clean this gargantuan soap mat, like I want to say that thing was like at least minimum 30 by 30. It was just this giant.
That sounds about right. It was like
blue tarp that we would go out, we would do the gag and make a huge mess, and myself, Ben, Oscar Liendo, who you had on the show already, who was my partner in the gag, and Chase was Ben's partner. The four of us had the distinct honor and pleasure of like it's just getting so messed up that we would have to go to the back and shower off and tear your makeup off and put it right back on. And then, but us First of Mays, Ben, Chase, and myself, whenever we did it, we'd have to throw on a jumpsuit. Maybe if you were lucky, you had clothes on underneath. You would throw on a jumpsuit, go out during intermission, grab that soap mat, because during the second half, we were going to be cleaning that thing, whether it was in the freezing cold. Yeah, we say cleaning, but there's a running gag, and we give Chase crap for it. But like the proof is in the pudding. We have pictures.
I have literal pictures. We're taking pictures of everyone always.
We have pictures.
I have literal pictures of
every
Chase.
one of us has a broom like this, and we're grunting. We have sunglasses on, and like we're doing the Chase.
But don't get me wrong, he would stand very elegantly holding a broom vertically. He wasn't thrusting with it.
He's gonna be livid.
He's holding it. So he
you
was
can
there.
tell all the Chase stories you want because we're trying to get him on.
He's gonna be livid that we brought that up.
Yeah,
but yeah, in the sweltering heat in Mexico, we cleaned that thing outside. In the freezing cold of, I want to say it was Philly, or it was somewhere. It was like maybe Pittsburgh, but yeah, the mat actually froze while we were outside because again, it's shaving soap, but it's mixed with water, so that bad boy froze up.
There was a saying from, I don't know if one of the crew members started it or if it was just something they said. Basically, it was put your hand on something.
Mm-hmm. Just to help out.
Never was there established how much effort you had to put behind it, but you better look like you're busy.
Or any.
But yeah, what was I saying before? That first year, the second year, working out of the truck.
Not me.
I think I went through 3 pairs of broken glasses from boxes being tossed or falling over on me, and 1 twisted ankle.
Oh yeah, I remember the boot.
But I made it out. I worked that job for a year, and
we got a mansion out of it.
Because that's what I was going to get to. Because it was a management job on FCP. We got a mansion. So Brian still, I don't know how we winged that, but I think he still got to keep his.
I mean, because it was your job, not mine. I had my room, which was not necessarily my clown room wasn't necessarily a coffin, but it wasn't the biggest thing either. People were always still trying to.
It's bigger than mine.
It went from, so I think the actual coffins were 13 rooms to a car.
Oh yeah, I think we're 8.
The clown, no, they weren't 8. The clown rooms were like 10 to a car.
I think it was 10,
no,
yeah.
They were like 10.
10?
And then the staterooms were like 6 to 8 to a car. That's what was sick.
Oh, when I got upgraded.
When I got upgraded.
I got upgraded.
No,
you got upgraded to like what? Like a quarter state or like a half a state? Or like
no, it wasn't. It was a 6th. Huge. It was a 6th.
No, you got something.
I got that
because shower in the room.
Yeah, but that was that management job that I had.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But we were so in love with that room because I actually had to get up. I had to get up to walk somewhere. I couldn't just reach everything from my seat.
That's weird to put it like that, but you're right.
But it's true. I remember we used to prop our door up open all the time when we were on clown car, when we were on the crew car, because neighbors or friends would walk past and be like, "Hey, what's up? What are you doing?" And we would hang out or whatever. So I used to do the same thing when we had the state car. It was less people, but we had visitors. And I just remember complaining about the fact that I had to get up. So I remember vividly that I had to get up to close and open that door.
They'd have to, it was a trek. Again, for non-circus people, that train was over a mile long. Like, so it was a trek for the clowns to come and visit us in our new mansion.
Like, typical show management, whether it was FCP or show side, they got like those 6 cars that I was telling you about, where it's a 1/6 of a car. I think if you were a little higher than that, I think from there it was quarters. So you got a quarter of a car. I don't remember. I think you had to be like an assistant manager for that type room. Then the really, really higher ups, they got half a car. I think that was like the show manager or the co-manager of the show, whether it was FCP or not. They got like those bigger rooms. And then a half a car, which was like a mansion. It was humongous. I think that was reserved for like, I don't remember if anybody got a full car. I don't remember ever seeing a full car that I recall. Maybe the ringmaster, but I don't remember. And half of the time, the ringmasters that we had on the shows had trailers half of the time. Yeah. So, I I do remember babysitting. So I'm jumping forward now. I'm jumping forward. So I did that job, the merch distribution.
The merch distribution. So
Yeah.
did you go to Mexico while doing that
I
job?
did go to Mexico.
Yeah, she was
I
on
did
tour
that
with us in
there.
Mexico.
I got a
I speak
question
Spanish.
about that for
Yeah,
both
was
of
it
you,
good?
actually.
Were you on the
What
road
was it?
for Mexico?
No, I joined in 2015. I joined.
Okay, so
Y'all
no,
did one
you
show in Tampa. You went to
Mhm.
Orlando with Extreme, and I got on in Orlando.
Gotcha.
But what was it like crossing the border for you guys?
Huh.
That's a very good question, and that was an insane process. So we had like passport cards because like it was cheaper, and
Yeah.
regular passports like you didn't need it if you weren't flying anywhere. But since we were by train, passport card would work. But yeah, like they raided the cars. Like
So I don't. Do you remember the city before Mexico? Was it Texas?
It
or
was
something?
had no because it was after it was Mexico and then Texas.
So I don't remember
was
the
a
city
long train
before
ride.
Texas, but I remember it being a long train ride, and I think we were coming from the West Coast, if I'm not
It was
mistaken.
a long train ride.
But it was a really long train ride. We were already on the train for like a day or two, and then we get to the Mexico border, and then we're stationary for hours. And
In
this
Laredo,
is because,
right?
yeah, and
probably.
And we're stationary because they're going. You
Room
got
to
patrol
room.
officers are going room to room.
Room to room.
They're
Did
looking.
they have dogs? I could swear they had.
I think some of them did, but they were going room to room to make sure we weren't
Nothing
bringing
came in.
anything in that wasn't allowed to be over there. So, but I remember that inspection not taking as long. So the train goes into Mexico, and you start seeing the big differences in like class, I guess, because I think we went through Texas to get into Mexico, and you know, houses, neighborhoods, kids playing. Then you start going into Mexico, and wherever the train tracks were, you would see a lot of desert. You would see a lot of really skinny dogs. You would see a lot of like shacks and so different. It was nothing we had experienced before.
And then we would get to the arena, and when I say it was the biggest arena I've ever seen, like as far as like a domed like roof arena, like it was huge. Like when they trained us in clown college, they taught us, you know, play up, point your belly button up, because your movements and your facials and everything you do shouldn't just read to the people who paid in the front row. They gotta read to the people who paid in the cheap seats. It's gotta, you know, read to everybody. You're playing in the round, like all these technical things about performance. They taught us because we're in these massive basketball stadiums, these arenas all over the country. So we get to Mexico, and when I say like they have this gigantic, like I want to say like as big as this house, like Jumbotron hanging from the middle, and they had live cameras who would feed the show to that Jumbotron just so people could see. That's how far away some of the people were from us.
The arena was really huge, but what was like, we were near a city, because I mean Ringling mostly plays bigger cities, but getting to that city, there was a lot of nothingness and a lot of just desert, which was different from what we have been seeing when we were in the US. How long we were in Mexico? Like a month?
I would say like 3
but in
weeks.
2 different cities.
It was 3 weeks because I know we did Monterrey and we did Mexico City. I don't remember which one we did 2 weeks in.
I think it was Monterrey we did 2 weeks.
Yeah, and then Mexico City.
We did a lot of sightseeing while we were there.
Yeah, and we did Mexico City. But backing up to that ginormous arena, it was the biggest, and yet at the very same time, the emptiest arena we ever played. It was one of those things where we were like in our heads just begging, like, let them come down. Because, you know, in arenas, you pay for a ticket and it has your seat number on there, and they won't let people come down. You know, that's your seat, so you have to sit there. But like 95% of this ginormous building is empty. Just let them come down to the front row, because they were up, 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 up.
I don't
And
know if
we-
it was like a culture difference, or I don't know if it was just financial strain that the area might have had. But it was just very different than anything we had played before. And the people were different too, right?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say, so like the audience was different too, because like culturally, like they're all about the photo. Where and like it's, I don't think they mean it to be a rude thing, but like they would just grab you by like your shirt, and it would be un photo, un photo. And I'd be like, okay, sure. But like again, I don't think it was meant to be like a rude thing, like come here, you piece of property, like take my picture. I don't think it was just they're very like excitable, like that we're here, because it's a very much Ringling is a very much American style of performance
Circus,
and circus, and like
Oh, yeah.
you know, they have different circuses in Mexico, and like the cultures are just very different. So they were, again, it was just like an excitement thing, but yeah, they loved them some photos.
But it was also really fun to just
Oh, it was
sightseeing
The
and
pyramids,
just,
what?
visiting, trying different foods. Oh, because we crossed the border and we
Mhm.
were in a whole nother area. I think a lot of people had gotten sick,
Oh yeah.
both up and down.
Back
Just
and
because there
front.
was a change in food, we had to figure out pesos,
Oh yeah. No, listen,
the calculations.
you were a godsend. You were our
Everybody all of a
translator.
sudden was my best friend, whether I knew you or not, because I'm bilingual. I speak Spanish and English. So everybody's like, hey, Tatiana, hey,
Buddy.
Let's
buddy,
go
where you
here.
going? Can I go with you? Sure, let's go. So I was the guide for everyone on the circus.
Yeah,
And
it was definitely the most unique experience of my
yeah.
3.5 years to the day on the road. Mexico was probably the
We
most
met
unique.
a street performer up
Oh,
there too,
yeah.
a clown, dark humor, really funny.
So well, and that goes back to like the cultural differences. Some of the bits that he was doing on the street, we would never.
Yeah, because some of it was
never do
a
on the
little bit
show.
of it was a little sexualized. Some of it, like
Mm.
I remember, we were in a really crowded park. That's where he was. This street performer was, and he was a clown.
Yeah, he had his face done, like big shoes
but
and everything.
There were a couple of parents that had, dogs. Oh my goodness, they had kids on leashes.
Same thing.
So I remember he made a joke like, "Hey, get your little doggy," and it's just it was
Like,
funny
a
to
lot
us,
of-
but
a-
not jokes we could make like on
Right,
Ringling
a lot
as
of
well.
yeah, a lot of, like Americans would get like offended. Don't you call my kid a dog? And like doing all that type of stuff. They didn't care. They ate that stuff up. It was great.
Yeah, I remember him having just a lot of dark humor jokes. Or I remember over there also as well in the public parks. I'm not sure if it was every public park or just the one we happened to be in. You had to pay to use the bathroom.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. I think it was like 5 or 10 pesos or something, which was just a coin. But I remember if you wanted to use that bathroom, you had to pay. And I remember him making a joke about, don't put 5 pesos in here because that's telling me that your number 2 is worth more than I am.
Essentially, you understood that because he was also very vocal.
Yes.
Since we were all right there, so like a lot of his stuff wasn't like, again, like you got to think of the different venues. He's performing to people right there
in a crowd
on the street, whereas we're performing in these giant arenas, so we're not so vocal. It's almost all physical. So yeah, that's fascinating. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so he just had a lot of jokes, and I just thought it was so funny, but it was very different. I remember on the way back when we were leaving Mexico, that took even longer.
Yeah.
So packing everything up, I felt like took forever. And when I remember this train run at night, there was a huge lightning storm. And it wasn't raining or anything. The sky was just dark, and every couple of seconds you'd see the whole sky light up with lightning strikes.
Oh,
And it
that's
was
awesome.
nothing but desert for miles. And you would see a little shack or a little cactus here and there. But when I tell you, man, this train run was one of my favorites because it was just so beautiful, just
yeah.
watching nature.
Train runs in
and also
general.
horrifying because we're this gigantic metal thing in the middle of the desert and there's lightning. So horrible to think about, but I didn't leave that vestibule. I still stood there.
Well, yeah, well, that just goes back to train runs in general. We're one of the most, like, when I say, like, I wish I could go back and, like, strangle myself
One more.
and be like,
Oh.
hey, Go appreciate these things, because I'm an introvert. I hate small talk. I don't like, groups of people just chatting, just like, what are we talking about? Let's talk about something. Like, give me something that I'm like passionate about, and we got ourselves a conversation. But I wasn't really the biggest like vestibule person, but from inside my room, oh yeah, I peeked out that window. And I'm like,
he looked through that window.
Oh yeah. And I'm like,
So-
damn, I wish I could just go back and do it all over again.
So what would be your most memorable train run then?
Oh, so it's not one in particular, but there were a couple times. I forget how they were able to arrange this, but we talk about the friendly rivalry between the red and blue units.
Yeah.
I know
we both had our own separate trains, and like the ones where either we would pass very, very quickly because we're going like who knows how many miles per hour. But the trains would pass real quick. So everybody, even I, was on the vestibule waving at each other, trying to see if we can get a peek of like essentially our brothers and sisters. Like we joke on the two units, like back and forth, and we jab each other, but we love each other. We're all one big, happy, disjointed family. But so there were the ones where we would pass very fast, but there were also the most rare occasions where both trains were parked side by side in the same yard. And I don't know how why that ever happened, but it happened a couple times, and those were awesome.
It happened once in 2.5 years when I was on the show.
Yeah, no, it happened a couple times while I was there, but yeah, it was
twice for us.
Yeah.
Most of the time it was quick drive-by passings.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've heard a story about someone breaking someone's hand on that one.
Oh, I would not be
I
surprised.
would not stick my hand out there.
Because they're trying to high-five each other.
Oh, no, that's what?
It's no momentum.
Little story come out soon.
We had a lot of beautiful train runs. I could not tell you what city we were coming from or going from. But the Mexico lightning storm one, it was a very beautiful train run because it was just pitch black for miles. And then the bolts of lightning would just light up the whole sky, and you all of a sudden would see the clouds. Very beautiful.
I was also fond of like towards the end of whatever particular year, depending on where we were, especially if we were up north, the snowy ones. The snowy ones, like when you were passing by, like literal people's backyards, just covered in like blanketed fresh snow. Those were also really cool.
I really liked fall train runs because they're just beautiful looking at all the mountains or color changes. I do not remember where this train run was going or coming from, but we had a horseshoe one.
Mm-hmm.
I was about to say the horseshoe. Yep.
Yeah.
Where you could see the trains end and front
all at the same time.
At the same time. That was a beautiful one.
I want to say that's West Virginia.
Maybe.
And I'm going to say you're probably right because I don't know.
So that's one of like my things. I was like, I don't have the best memory. But I remember very weirdly specific like details. But yeah, cities that I've been to and stuff that I've done in those cities, I'll just agree and politely.
California, we went past beaches.
Oh yeah.
I remember going past beaches. That was really beautiful. I can't stress how wonderful. I think it might be the turtle. I can't stress how wonderful it was going past train crossings where there were people in cars and people with signs and waving and
you
waving.
You beat me to it because those last few months.
He's just protecting.
It's the turtle. He's, but yeah, those last couple months were like an emotional roller coaster and like almost a blur. But the one thing I do vividly remember is like, yeah, almost every city we were at, if we were going 1,000 miles an hour, we were going 5 miles an hour. Regardless, we could always see the fans of the show and the fans of like what we did and like what we meant to them standing out there waiting and waiting and waiting. And like, as we would pass by, they would wave and cheer.
Cameras set up already to record the train.
Cameras to record because, yeah, it was a big deal. People were losing something that they absolutely cherished.
So go ahead.
Sorry. So I was a big morning person. So
I still am not.
He'd be still knocked out from the previous show. And don't get me wrong, I was tired too. But I would wake up every morning and I'd just stand out there and just watch. I'd have juice or coffee or whatever I had, I'd go down to the pie car and hang out there for a little bit, just watch everything go past. I'd come back to the vestibule, then I'd come back, visit him. Hey, you're up now. Come on, let's go do something. But I loved it. One of my favorite train runs, and it was getting a little closer towards the end, was you got to ask permission from management on the show, but as long as they gave the okay, and I think you signed some paperwork, it was okay. But I got to have my mom and my younger brother come along for a train run.
Very
and they
nice.
slept in our rooms, and we had pulled out the bunk beds. And
Because that lifestyle, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, it is very much, it's not a job when you sign that contract. It is a lifestyle. Becomes everything. And like, that lifestyle is not something, we can tell you stories all day long. But unless you've done it, there's no, you can't get a grasp for it.
And like,
at all.
I would always tell them about how beautiful train runs were. So
yeah.
It was just meaningful that I got to bring my mom and my brother along for that train ride, and eating pie car food, which I wish I could have one more time.
Yeah, cordon bleu days, man. We would celebrate in the alley.
Cordon bleu.
I'll come visit you guys soon. Don't worry.
We'd love
That'd
that.
be dope.
We need somebody that knows how to make it, because I can't. I'm about to look that up just to practice it.
But yeah, crazy enough, we haven't even gotten to the end of, or at least the beginning of Circus Extreme. So my first year on the road was being plugged into a, in my opinion, a great show, Built to Amaze, but a pre-existing one.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got onto that show, it was Taylor's, I don't know what it is that made him like go this route, but I'm grateful for it, because like he made it so that every week, I want to say it was every week. We didn't have time to do it every day. We were doing shows, but every week we would have a clown rehearsal, and like we weren't rehearsing anything specific at first. We were just like honing skills. Like we would practice juggling. We would do trust falls to build, trust in the alley, that sort of thing. Like we became very, very close because of these. And then over time, during that first year on the road, we were learning about the brand new show coming up that we were going to have to build. And so they would tell us like, hey, we're thinking it's going to be like extreme or something like that. Oh, and then like those of us who are certain Ringling nerds were like, oh, okay. You done? We would go, oh, okay, so it's 1997 all over again, because the 127th edition was the Extreme Circus, or, late
With
90s. Yeah, with an E, there's a difference. So they would come to us and be like, hey, like, these are the parameters for what we need your material to be to fit within the show. Go. And we'd be like, okay. And then we would come up with all these different ideas. And long story short, the end of the year came around. We all came back again. It was really cool. And we eventually began rehearsing and like really, really tightening up all of that material that you saw at Circus Extreme. Like they would be like, hey, you guys are going to climb a mountain. Go. And we were like, we have no idea what that means, but let's we would stay overnight and we would piece together, pitch different ideas. Of course, I was the only idiot in the alley who was like, guys, what if we made it a soap gag? And everybody like looked at me like, no, oh my God, no. Like I had the idea of making like climbing Mount Everest a soap gag, where we would have a big snowball fight, and like the abominable snowman would come out at the end and like chase us off, but like nobody wanted to play with soap anymore. I could have done it every single show for my entire career, but nobody else wanted to play with snow anymore.
You jumped ahead a little bit.
Anymore.
I just want to throw a quick mention in there.
What's up?
The last show for Built to Amaze, all the 1st of May clowns were so happy to dump the soap mat into a dumpster. Because they were all done with it. They each cut a little piece of it, which it's around there somewhere.
Yeah, I'll grab it.
They each cut a little piece of the soap mat. The clowns signed it. Everybody signed each other's piece of the soap mat.
Yeah, I still have mine. Oh my, yeah.
Oh, very nice.
You can
It has
hardly see it,
signatures
but
on
there's like
there,
it's
but
there's a glare on there. But like, yeah, I have mine signed, framed, and it's signed by every member of the alley because again, that was my specific dream come true. Like, obviously, I wanted to be on Ringling, but the fact that I got to be in a sub gag, yes, it was a lot of work. It was hard, oftentimes hard work. It was oftentimes painful work, because when you go inside of a 45-gallon bucket, you hope there's something in there to break your fall. And
Oh,
when we hit those cities where the like the altitude would mess with the soap and the soap would drop, and like, what you really want is like a big, nice, it's almost like diving into a vat of marshmallows. It's, floofy, it's thick, it's creamy. You hope for that. You don't always get that because since it was supposed to be paint, we had to add color to it. And we did that with, unfortunately, water-based paint. And so water-based paint mixing with the soap, it would just turn almost into water sometimes. And I would
almost like
go in,
deflate the soap.
essentially. And you would go from a bucket like yay big with yay amount of soap in it.
Oof.
And so like I would, again, I'm going in head first, but like my hands are going first and I'm not going to land on my head. That's happened before. Actually, that's another story for another day for the clown who did that. But
you were talking about winter quarters for Circus Extreme, but you never made mention of Built to Amaze ending. We were all sad that the show was ending, but we were all staying.
Yeah.
So it was okay. And
Yeah.
because we were going into winter quarters.
I mean, it's one of those things where one show ends and another starts up again. It's going to be a completely different story. This is the end of 2014. It's a completely different story in the middle of 2017 when the show is ending and not returning. But so we went through all of that. We all got our pieces of the soap mat. We had spent all year long literally building like all of the material for Circus Extreme. We pitched it in front of the producers of the show, and every single thing we pitched, every single thing we presented, got approved.
And these were gags for like pre-show.
No, this was
and for the show.
So those were two separate events. So like during the year, they came down to see, hey guys, what do you have for us? And we said, bet. Taylor as our boss, we went all out. We had music, we had, costumes, we had props, we had everything we needed to make this look as show ready as possible without the show actually providing us with these things. But all of that stuff got approved, which means we all got to shave bits and pieces out of Taylor's head. So that was fun.
Said if everything got approved, they could shave his head.
Yeah. So we worked real hard. We pitched everything from like the blow off with the mini tramp and the flags, the mountain gag where we climb Mount Everest, the jars. We like had built like mock-up jars for like all these jars that we would open and they would do different bits. Mine punched me in the face. And yeah, so like every little thing that we did in the show, we built ourselves and presented, and they all got approved. We worked really hard to make it so that we had more than just the two spots. Because in Built to Amaze, we had two big spots. One in the first half, one in the second half. That was it. Otherwise, we were a dancing. We were a prop. So in the first half of Circus Extreme, we had more material than we had in all of Built to Amaze. Just put it that way.
Oh, wow.
So Built to Amaze comes around. Built to Amaze ends, and then Circus Extreme comes around. Winter quarters, from what I've heard, because that was the one and only winter quarters I got to go through as a performer. I heard that it was nothing like what we went through. Normally, we were the golden children. We did nothing almost all of winter quarters. We had all of our stuff down pat. Whenever they called us, we were there. We went out. We did what we had to do, and we went back to the alley and probably did something stupid to keep each other entertained. Yeah, it was great. And so that was 2015, and that was
beginning of 2015.
Yeah, that was 2015.
2015 started Circus Extreme. No E, just X.
Yeah, 'cause it's different.
New show, new music, new costumes.
Oh yeah.
Brian got to. Yeah, I know you were gonna say that. Brian got to help design. Again, thanks to Taylor. Brian got to customize his own outfit.
Yeah, Taylor sketched it out because he's actually a really good artist.
He had a completely different concept originally. It was kind of like a teenage boy kind of comic book
Like a
shirt,
gamer.
like a gamer, cool kid.
They wanted all of our characters to be able to serve a purpose on the respective teams, even though we were all clowns and in the same dressing room or in the same clown alley. They had two teams, one going with Team Alex and one with Team Arena, the two stars of the show that year.
And the color schemes were kind of like warm colors and cool colors, boys and girls. It also, I think the style of it, kind of looking back on it, was very adventure themed.
It was kind of steam. It was
like
the
a
word
steampunky
that was the word that kept
adventure.
getting thrown around was steampunk.
Because I mean,
that's why I had the goggles.
Some costumes, in my opinion, weren't too steampunky because Lindsay's, she was a flight attendant. She wasn't, but that's why I said adventure, because I feel like
it was like travel, and
Brian's outfit gave more of a scientist or archaeologist type.
So Taylor
outfit.
was able to take my initial, what I actually wanted, which was like a lot of red, white, and black, but the clowns didn't get a lot of red, white, and black unless you were like somebody, like, unless you got lucky, essentially. They wanted us to be bright and colorful, and I'm like, okay. So, and then they're like, that idea wasn't clear enough. They were like, it has to be something like every single person, not just like a niche group, would understand. So like Taylor was like, well, what about like a techie? It's just somebody who's like very into tech, like a scientist. I was like, okay, that works. And so like we talked about it, and we came up with like the goggles on my forehead for the steampunk aspect and like a mad scientist type deal. But I had a coat that had tails on it, and it was
beautiful coat.
It was just
beautiful costume.
The whole thing. Like I remember the day, like in winter quarters, they were like, hey, so we like have a mock-up of your costume. And it was like, because you don't want to go through all of this effort and work and then have it not work out. So like they built a mock-up, and it was just like white fabric, like very thin, very like flimsy, like just as to get the idea across, white fabric. And so like I slipped into this, and I automatically, like, you asked me earlier, like how I found my face, and it was in that winter quarters, because that first year that I was on the road, that last year of Built to Amaze, I went through like 3 different faces because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was as a person. I didn't know who I was as a performer, as a clown. I was lost and just trying to figure it out. But come winter quarters, like I had this blank slate. I was like, I can be whoever I want to be. And so I tried on this white fabric, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like I'm going to have like this custom fitted, like just flashy, flamboyant-ish costume that, like, me, again, that I helped design. And it's like, it's mine, and I'm not that person. I'm not flashy. I'm not flamboyant. I like all of my, like, she's wearing purple, I'm wearing gray. That is very much like, I'm like more low key than that, but like I got in this thin white fabric, and I was like, oh my goodness, I think I know who I am. And so like I went back to the alley, and like I was like, hey, for this new show, am I allowed to play with? And he was like, yep, go ahead, do whatever you want. And I started flipping through. Again, I'm a massive circus nerd, so I had all of my circus programs. I started flipping through pages, and I took a couple of different ideas. I mashed them together. I made them fit my face, and I presented it, and they were like, "Boom, perfect, that's you." And I haven't changed it since. It's a little simpler. Like when I first got on there, I was like, "Oh, let me go big and bold and like try and stand out and like pay tribute to like the Ringling of old that I grew up loving," and it just didn't work. It was just too much. And then I simplified it. I picked up a couple of different ideas from a couple of different people, and like I said, chose what I love, tried some stuff on, and boom, there it was. And Larina Yako was in the alley a couple years before me, but was in the alley when I got there, and she built my wig. Like, I don't even know if that was, I think, no. Okay. So I don't know if it was like, it wasn't like a business or anything like that, but like she built her own wig, which she had like this really cool, like a bun. And she was like always crocheting, like, and she built that wig. And I don't even know how we came across, the idea of her building me one, but she built me this wig. And like I said, once I got that wig on and like I put on the goggles and like the coat with the tails, and I had like these custom instead of my typical clown shoes that I've been wearing since I did birthday parties. I got like these custom clown shoes built from a shop in California called Capri Shoes. I think they're out of California. I'm not sure, but like they were amazing. They build like Disney like Goofy, Mickey, those shoes, the big shoes that they wear. So like they built those for me, and like once I got all of that on, it all just kind of fell into place. Like it all just kind of.
We have a shoe on the wall.
Oh yeah, that's one of my old like since the birthday party day shoes. That's
that's the newer one.
No, it isn't. That's from that the older ones are a little more round and flat towards the front. I know the difference.
Okay.
That's made from a company called Spears Shoes, who made the shoes, fun fact, not just for a bunch of Ringling Clowns, but for the Who's in the Grinch movie, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. But even as a kid, I would pause that movie. I was like, wait a minute. Those shoes are massive. Those look like clown shoes. And then, of course, lo and behold, years later, I found out, yeah, they got made by the same people who make shoes for Ringling.
Very nice.
So Brian and us, we were on that show till the end.
Mm-hmm. I was the only clown to not just build the material and go through all of winter quarters, but also be on the first and the last show of Circus Extreme. That was really, really bittersweet.
Yeah, because we lost a lot of people that second year.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people had left or went on to do their own thing.
If that's just the nature of show business. Like, again, I said earlier, Oscar Orlando was my partner in the soap gag. He had been on the road for a few years. He left after my first year. That was rough on me. Chase, who we mentioned several times, both of them were like my best friends, and they were both gone after my first 2 years on the road. And again, I talk about the voice in the back of my head. I did not gain an ounce of confidence in my performance and my ability until after 3 out of the 3.5 years on the road. I'm not kidding.
Really?
When I say that. Yes. It's never that I thought I was bad, or I just never thought. I always was constantly in a state of comparing myself to other people.
Wow.
That's just the way my brain works, unfortunately.
When I joined this show, I thought you were great right off the gate, and that was the beginning of 2015.
And
everybody does. He even got to be. I don't know when this was. I think it was the beginning of your second year. He even auditioned to be pre-show host, which he was hesitant on auditioning, and I kept pushing him like, "You have a great voice. Go audition."
That was an awesome opportunity that fell in my lap.
He knocked that audition out of the park.
Okay, so that was towards the end of my third year, because I remember doing it full time, beginning of 2017, right before the show ended. Chantal Stringer, our I want to say production manager, something like that. That sounds about right.
She took notes.
She comes to me. Yeah, she took notes. She told us how to make the show better. She was great. But she comes to me, and in her lovely petite little self, in her little British accent, she goes, "I would like for you to audition." And I'm like, I'm sorry. Do I need to like audition to keep my job, or like what is like again? That's the voice in the back of my head. I have no idea what's going on ever. I'm always like walking on eggshells. She was like, no, and she told me about dance party host or like the pre-show host, and I was like, me? Why? She's like, just come to the audition. It's later on the floor. I was like, oh God, that's later. Okay. And then myself, Yvonne Vargas, a couple of us were up there. I think I want to say it was just us from Clown Alley, but we both auditioned, and I got it. Like I got pre-show host early on, but like we wound up reformatting it to where I was, where he did the pre-show. And I was his understudy, but I introduced the ringmaster, which is like, like what? Again, what is life? Like I grew up a kid, 4 years old, going to Madison Square Garden to see the show, and now I'm introducing the ringmaster.
And when I tell you his audition,
enough with the audition.
It was so good. Everybody started cheering when he was like, doing his, let's get ready to walk. It's just like this.
All right.
It's such a good audition.
Oh, he's got a great voice, yeah.
I appreciate all of the compliments, but I am the type of person, like, you got to understand, I was on the road with some of the funniest, some of the most talented people I had ever met. And I was like, oh, okay, man, I think I might be getting good at this, but they're better. And it was never like a conscious thing. It was never like I sat down and like thought about this, but I just never, it wasn't until like the newer clowns, the newer Mays would come up to me and be like, hey, I have this bit that I'm working on. Could you help me make it funnier? And I was like, the first couple of times I was like, who, me? And I would help, and we would sit down and we would work on stuff. And then it was like, it happened a lot. It started happening more and more frequently, where I was like, okay, this can't be by accident. Maybe I'm good at this. At that point, I already knew the show was closing and like all of this was going on. But like, I was like, there's something to. So okay, there were two specific instances. I was trying to remember. So one was I want to say it was Chantal again. I think so. There was a gymnast, a Ukrainian gymnast who had, just her own little ring time. She would go out with a ribbon on the end of a stick, and you might remember her name. I surely don't. She was a lovely young lady. She had her own act, and like, I don't know if it was show management who asked her to come to us and figure out how to make it more interesting, because she couldn't hold an audience for whatever reason. Like, people were not interested. They didn't want to cut the bit, but they were like, hey, why don't we try and make it funny? And so like I think she came into the alley one day and came to me and was like, hey, can we talk? And like, we talked, and she was like, could you come into the, like, in her accent or broken English or whatever, she was like, could you come into the ring and make this better? And I was like, again, like, me? Okay, sure. I'll do what I can. And I thought it was just like for this one pre-show, and it wound up like being a regular recurring thing where I'd sit on the ring curb and I'd watch her and do these like admittedly like really impressive, cool things, but like I immediately saw the disconnect. The audience sat there and was like, oh, cool, she can do these cool things. I'm not going to sit through 3.5 minutes of watching her do these cool things. So they would get up and walk away. I sat on the ring curb, and then she would call me in as a volunteer. And I'm like, again, looking around, what, who, me, what's going on? And she would hand me a baton twirler, a little, the ribbon. And I was winging it. Every single time I went in there, I never told her what I was gonna do. I just did stuff. So basically, what wound up being built off of me playing with her was she would do this really cool, amazing thing. I would cheer for her, which would get the audience to cheer because they saw themselves in me, which was always such an important, understated job of the clown, was to be the voice and the eyes, the conduit almost of the audience. Like, we are the ones who are allowed to mess up. The audience can never see themselves doing these cool, amazing, like Olympic level gymnastics, but they can see themselves being the idiot next to her, throwing a hula hoop in the air and catching it with his forehead, which is what I did. So like, and like I would twirl the ribbon around and I would get it tangled on my foot, and like I would do all these ridiculous things. And then in the end, we would just I think the blow off was just me like pseudo getting better and like never accomplishing anything, never doing anything. Like, that's the thing. They taught us about it. I think even before I got to clown college, like I learned the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. Like, don't overthink it. Just get in there and keep it as simple as possible. I never did anything with her, but the people were with it. They laughed and they loved it. They stuck around, and like that was one of those moments where that was one of those aha moments. Like, okay, I might be good at this. Truett Adams, I want to say she joined the show my second to last year, my third year on the road. She joined the show as a 1st of May. And she's an aerialist, a very talented aerialist, and she needed some help getting an aerial act again to be funny or entertaining. I think funny, not necessarily entertaining, because people like aerial acts, but they wanted it to be funny because you can't just go out there and with her face painted and the wig on and do aerial tricks. That's going to confuse people. They're like, wait, should we be laughing at this? So she spoke to me and like, again, had this like, hey, can you help me make this funny type moment? And we would try stuff. And again, it was very much the same as the gymnastics improv, where I would go out. This wasn't improvised. It was too dangerous to be improvised. But I would go out and like, we would be like a team of aerialists, but we're clowns, obviously. Like, have our faces painted with the wigs and noses and everything. But she would go up and do these really cool, like amazing feats, like 20 feet above the air. And I'd be sitting on my butt, stretching. I'd be attempting to touch my toes the entire time until she would hand me the rope. I hope that's what you call that apparatus, but the rope, she would hand it to me and like, okay, now your turn. And I would loop it in my wrist. They would raise me because I didn't know this at first, but I saw the guy who was in control of raising the rope, and I would point at him down after like maybe raising me 2 feet off the air. I would take a really big bow and I'd go back and continue stretching. She would be like, wait, what was going on there? And she would go back up and do her cool aerial stuff. My turn, I go up just a little bit higher, but like, down, that's it. Take my big bow, keep stretching. The blow off was I would get looped. I would be like raised like maybe 10, 15 feet in the air. And I would start panicking, like freaking out, like down, 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 screaming, crying, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I guess he got distracted as part of the story. And like, he would lower me down. My feet would touch the ground. After panicking and screaming and crying, I take a big bow and I just walk away and just be done with it. Be like, nope, I'm done with this. And so like, that was just another example of like somebody coming to me and needing my help. And I don't know if it was just them coming to me for like the help or what, but I don't know. It was, like I said, it took me 3 years out of 3.5 years being on the road to gain like a shred of confidence.
I feel like everybody else can see it, just not him.
Well, it's that voice we got to get rid of.
Good for them.
I'm
glad they can see it.
Circus Extreme lasted 2.5 years.
Yeah, it was 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
On Circus Extreme, I would be remiss if I did not mention that was I was lucky enough privileged enough, really, to be a part of the final show with the elephants.
Oh yeah, I remember that day.
Yeah, I don't think any of us will ever forget it.
Nope.
It was specifically special for me because rewinding all the way back to being on the road as 18-year-old kids working backstage, we got the privilege to go visit the CEC, the Center for Elephant Conservation in Florida. And while I was there, I met this baby elephant and we clicked immediately. Her name is April, and we share a birthday. And I was like, you are my literal spirit animal. She was like 11 months old, like 300 or 400 pounds. And we were just like inseparable for just a couple minutes. We could not get enough of each other.
To be fair,
And
who wouldn't
I
kiss
fe-
a baby elephant?
that's valid, but like we had a reason.
I feel that way with
Um,
Mabel.
So
I feel that way about Asia.
Asia.
Um,
So Asia was on the show when I was a kid. I remember watching the VHS for the Living Carousel tour, the 129th. I
mhm.
was like 7, and I watched, and the trainer, like, and the host, they fed Asia a whole loaf of bread, and I was like, oh, Asia, that's cool. I remembered her name. When we got on the road, so around that same period, we were 18 on the road, and Asia was on the show, and you used to feed her goldfish
I did.
without letting anybody notice.
No, Alex knew. So
Did he know?
Alex knew.
Because I don't think it started that
No,
way.
I asked. I would
Oh,
always
yeah.
ask because I didn't want to interfere with the animals, anything. So I would always watch Asia. She was just so cute and so well behaved and so well. No, I can't even say well behaved because she was an older
was
little lady,
mischievous.
but she was always touching something with her snout.
Yeah.
And I would always notice, like I would always be watching her, and sometimes Alex, her handler, would be talking to somebody that would walk past or something, and then immediately she would just watch him. And I could see her looking at him, and the minute he got distracted, she would start touching either electronics or looking on the floor to pick up like paper or something. So I would let Alex know, hey, she's doing it again. So at one point, I think I was eating goldfish, and like her snout came over really like involved in what was going on in my mouth. So I asked Alex, could I give her a goldfish? It was a little snack cracker. And he said, sure. So, like, that was the end of it. Because every time I would
That
see
became
Asia,
a
I
thing.
made sure I had goldfish. So every single time before she would go out, she would always get some goldfish from me. So
And like,
she's my favorite. Definitely.
meanwhile, I'm starstruck. I'm like, that's Asia. I used
And
to
I mean-
watch her as a kid.
He saw her as a kid. I didn't realize how old Asia was,
Mhm.
but I saw her for the first time when we joined the circus. The first time around when we were 18. We were backstage crew, and I would see her every day right before she would go out. And she was also the elephant that did the Star Spangled Banner.
Mhm.
So we definitely
was
got
the
extra time
star.
with her.
She was the star.
And yeah, she was just wonderful. When the elephants went away, it was so sad. I honestly remember
I
thinking
teared up
in my
that
head
day.
though. Yeah,
No,
like
you talk about tearing up. We wrote ourselves this way just so we would be more busy and the clowns would be featured and be more prominent. We had we were the last performers on the floor with them.
wow.
We stood on the floor and like
I think this is Mabel's snout, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So right before they would leave the floor, we would be out there and like they would go, Asia, Mabel, like calling them by name, and we would all pose and like point in like however way we wanted to at each of them, and until we were all posing and the elephants were posing, and like it was this big moment. I didn't finish before, but April, I met her when she was 11 months old, and we both wound up on the same show together.
Oh, very nice.
When she was finally show ready. I think she had done some gold unit stuff, but when she got moved up to the big show, she was metaphorically taken under Asia's wing, and April and I got to share the stage together for her final performance. And you talk about tearing up. There were 12 clowns on the floor sobbing. Our bodies were there, like from neck down. We were doing the same mechanical, robotic movements we could, but from watching them between the little crack in the curtain. Watching them during opening because we were down there, we were like, presenting them, and it was this beautiful moment. We were, and then of course, like right before they left the floor for the final time, just sobbing like I'm about to. Just sobbing the whole time because it was such a sad day.
Everybody was recording everywhere.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people that were able to, whoever was working that day or that show, that were able to, went to the concession stands or the seats to try to get any recording footage.
Yeah.
As the elephants came out where they closed the curtain for the last time, people
a big
backstage
day.
were recording. I remember they had lined them all up and they gave them a whole big meal backstage. Everybody leading up to their last show, were taking pictures with them. They were celebrities towards the end of it.
That was a tough one.
I remember honestly thinking in my head, though, I had mentioned it to him. I said, the elephants are gone. I remember being worried that day
about the show
and the direction it was going, because they were such a huge part of it. And I know there were so many issues with PETA and animals in general. I get it.
You mentioned them. That was May of 2016. And that was like, again, just rip your heart out, throw it on the ground.
Oh yeah.
And then it was May of 2017, just a year later, that the entire show would be done.
Yeah, because I remember, I just remember listening and watching and observing all the changes that have been going on. So at that point, I wasn't management anymore for, I think, midway into the first year for Circus Extreme. Mm-hmm. There was another opening. So I liked working for FCP. I enjoyed my experience there, but the job I did, the distribution job, was tough.
That's like, what I said, not me.
The hours were longer than backstage crew or anything. Like you had
to drive that truck from city to city.
I had to drive the truck from city to city.
While I slept in the mansion.
We swapped it out who had to drive it from city to city. It had to be loaded, unloaded, working in all types of weather. Was insane. Didn't matter if it was pouring, we still had to work out there. The show must go on no matter what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
So I heard there was an opening for the nursery. And at that point, other than doing performances or working birthday parties, I had never worked directly with children. Like I have younger siblings and family members I babysat for, but I hadn't worked directly with children. But I love kids. So I was like, okay, I'm going to apply for that. And I did, and I did get hired. So I went from FCP side and I went to show side. I think they made us switch rooms because they were designated train cars for FCP staff as opposed to show side staff. So I kept the same size room, but I had to move.
Did you?
I could swear we moved. I'm like
90% positive.
Sure. I don't know. Maybe we're wrong. Who knows?
No, I remember us living in the mansion when you were in management. When you were on in the nursery, I'm almost positive you got your old room back.
No, I didn't. I still had a big room. But that was my favorite job while I was there. I think we had about 12 or so kids in the nursery, maybe a little bit more. We had, for anybody that doesn't know, the circus has its own school, and it's a homeschooling program for any performer or crew or FCP's children aged 5 to 18. And then we had our own nursery, which was daycare. And it was anywhere from children age 6 months old. I believe the child had to be 6 months to 12 years old. So while parents were working, the kids got sent to daycare or school. And I applied for that job and it was wonderful. My favorite was taking field trips. Once in a blue moon, we did those. We also got to take field trips to the concourse. We'd have our own suite and we'd watch the show with the kids. They love that. Of course, because they're circus kids, concessions would give them popcorn, cotton candy, ice cream, whatever they wanted, they got.
I would ask her, like, hey, are you guys watching the show tonight?
We had everything a community had. So come Halloween, the kids went trick-or-treating, but we didn't go house to house. We went door to door. We went dressing room to dressing room. For Easter, especially when we had the elephants, eventually it turned into camels doing it too, but we had the Easter egg hunts on the floor with the kids. So for the huge picture that we take at the beginning of the year on the floor with all the staff, the nursery staff, and we had all the kids sitting on the floor right in front of the ring curbs for our school photo, our huge school photo. I had children from so many different cultures and ages, and they spoke different languages. They ate different things. But man, when I tell you, these kids did nothing but educate each other. And they were such old little souls. They're kids. They're going to do what kids do. But it was just amazing. You know, some of the kids were there just as late as we were because we had some parents that did load out. We had a Mongolian troop whose troop had 2 children in our daycare center.
Oh,
and some of the kids would fall asleep. It'd be 11 o'clock, midnight. Loadout's not done. So guess what? And then at some point, they will also start taking our crates. So what we had as a dressing room, what we had all the kids' stuff, eventually, little by little, as the night progressed, because it had to be loaded into wagons and then loaded onto the train. All our dressing room stuff for the nursery, they all disappeared. By then, we just had a handful of kids just napping on us until their parents would come and that's it, take them to the train. It was an amazing job, and that's what I did up until the very end. I was a nursery teacher, and I loved my kids. I miss them all very much. I kept in touch with some of the families, and I have them on Facebook. I get to watch some of the kids grow up, and it's amazing how big some of these kids have gotten. A couple of kids that just stand out my head right now. Maria Jose, she was one of the FCP's kids. She's such a big kid now. She's pushing middle school age. Lucy, everybody remembers Lucy, I'm sure. Lucy Fulton. She's I think in middle school as well, pushing high school. Liam, Chantel's son.
Oh wow, yeah.
He's in high school. He's driving now.
Yeah,
he's getting, he's got his license. So it's just
Makes
so
me feel
amazing.
old.
These itty bitty people are just so grown up now, completely different, and it's just such a big change. When me and Brian were on Circus Extreme, we were thinking about in 2016, we were talking about the potential of starting our own family. But then end of 2016, beginning of 2017 is when right after a show, we heard the Felds were coming down and there was a big meeting. And there were rumors and speculation going around for a while that yeah.
I was gonna ask a question about how did y'all both feel once y'all found out the news? Like,
so it was it was a day that I'll never forget. Like she was saying, there was rumors and like we were all joking about every different possibility under the sun except that one. We were all
not for me. It was a thought in my head.
We were all saying, "Well, I guess we're going to work for Mickey," because like we all thought we were being bought like by Disney.
That was something that was going around, that the company was being sold.
We were like, man, what is even going to happen with only one unit? Because again, that was a thought in our head, like they were going to consolidate it all down to one unit instead of 3. And this was again, I'll never forget it. Like I talk about my crappy memory and like remembering specific things, but that's one thing I'll never forget is finding out that information was on a Saturday in Orlando.
3 shows.
It's 3-show day. So
we're exhausted.
It's like an 11, a 3, and a 7 or something like that. And like we keep hearing like more and more like information throughout the day, like details like, hey, like, no, everyone needs to be there. Like not just, people who work here, but
they weren't
the
even busing
kids.
anybody back. Like I think they were doing buses before the show ended to pick up anybody that was on the train and bring them to the building.
Oh, wow.
Nobody was allowed to go to the train.
So we long day is finally done. Like, nobody can piece together what's gonna happen because like it's in hindsight, like really is unfathomable. We all get brought into this big like meeting area, like a conference. It looked like a conference hall in the Kia Center right here downtown Orlando, 10 minutes from us. And everybody's chatting, and there's that buzz in the room, like of a big room full of like hundreds of people. And then I want to say it was Juliet,
the youngest,
who stepped up, and it was like dropping a bomb, because like I said, you go from like this buzz and like this movement to everyone is like completely still, completely silent, and in utter shock and disbelief.
And like when they initially started talking, they kind of also cut to the chase. They didn't like they explained why.
They ripped the Band-Aid and then gave the details.
They 100% like they said, good evening. I know it's been a long day. Thank you everybody for coming. But effective blah 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 blah. We are Ringling Brothers is officially shutting down. And
no, her words, like she specifically mentioned both units.
Both units. Well, both unit at that point, I don't even think was running anymore, really.
I'm not sure, but I remember her mentioning like both units, and that's when we all were like, oh,
and so
it's going away.
My heart sank because going into that meeting, we were hearing all these rumors, and I was like, okay, there's no way they're gonna lay off like 2,000 people. There, no way. So. Well, there's a whole lot of different positions everywhere. I don't know. There's a lot of people. You got to also think about all the people that were also like at headquarters in Palmetto, that didn't travel with us, but still worked with our show. But I was like, in my head, I was like, no. I knew there were a lot of changes happening. And honestly, I started worrying when the elephants went, because I said, in my head, I'm like, I don't think it's just about PETA. I feel like they're trying to make cutbacks. That's the way I saw it. Then when that following year, the blue unit was made, they did something that hadn't been done before.
With the ice
they
show.
Did an ice show mixed in. So it was Ringling on ice. And I thought, okay, well, they're trying different things. So I was like, okay, that's strange, but okay. And then we had a female ringmaster. When
Kristen Michelle Wilson.
See, you hear that voice? But we had
I love that intro.
David was our previous ringmaster, and then we got Kristen. And they hyped that up so much. They said, we have female ringmaster.
For the first time in our history,
and I could just tell that they were pushing for
something
for advertising and promoting.
Something to replace the elephants.
And I could just tell they were just really promoting something. And so I just didn't think that could happen. I was like, there's no way that after 100 and something years, no.
I immediately sobbed.
So
like, there were a lot of us who were like in shock, like to the point where we were silent. But no, I sobbed because
that room, people were talking, mumbling. You could hear whispering. As soon as they announced the closing of the shows, dead silence. You could just hear silence. It's like you could hear a pin drop. You could hear everybody's hearts sinking. You could hear everybody gulping. Then shortly after that, and I won't forget that either, one of the kids I remember Lucy. I could have sworn she went dun 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 something. I remember one of the kids.
Not anything.
It's something I remember because I worked with the kids, and that was at the time. Croods was a really popular movie, and I remember her doing it. And I think her mom like, shh, not now.
No, in that moment, it was like I talked about 2013 and all the different dreams I achieved in such a short time span, and it just felt like everything I had done before then just went up in smoke.
We were talking
felt
about
like I don't want to say it felt like it was for nothing, but it just felt like it was finite. Like, okay, it's great. You did the thing. Now here, it's done. And it was like, now we have a date. Now we have a time frame. Now, and in that moment, I kick myself because I'm a very I guess you would call it nostalgic person. Like I look back way more than I look at what's right in front of me. And I'm trying, and I've tried so hard to change that. But in that moment, I was like, I didn't appreciate all the amazing things we just talked about and all the amazing things that I got to do. And I was finally feeling like I knew who I was and what I was there to do. And I was ready to do it, even though all of my friends were gone, even though I was the only clown left who built that show. I was now going to be ending it. With 11 other people, but it felt at times like I was ending it by myself because we all worked so hard and so closely to build it. And then it was just me left. I got to close the show with Mariko that I mentioned earlier. Shandor from the Blue Unit became my boss clown, which was cool just because of how long he was boss clown. He was boss clown for so many years, and I did grow up watching him, and that was an awesome idea and cool to see. But I really wished Taylor helped make that show what it was for the clowns, for us to be so successful and be out there so often and so featured. I really wished that he could have been there. And obviously, in hindsight is always 2020. I spoke to a lot of them after the fact, and I'm like, well, we would have signed our contracts had we known,
Well, I felt bad. I couldn't help but think about all the people that also just started.
Well, I was going to get to that. So
we had some of the clowns. Matthew Lish was one of them.
So funny, so talented,
such a talented guy.
Obnoxiously talented.
We had a handful of new clowns, but they had started, I think, a month or so before the announcement was made.
So I'm going to correct all of that. We had two, not a handful. We had two. We had Beth Walters and Matthew Lish, and they both were two. And it makes me feel old to say this, but it's true. They were two kids who came in I think Matt was 18 when he got on the road, and Beth was maybe 20. I might be wrong about that, but they both. So they started on a Tuesday in Orlando. That Saturday, they found out that this dream that they had since they were little kids, dreaming of being a clown, just like I did, just like Dean and Taylor and so many other people before us. Yeah, it's all over in May.
Yeah.
So they signed. I want to say they signed on for a year and a half or something like that, and got 4 months out of it. So
a year and a half,
something like that.
They extended the show half a year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure when I might be wrong about, but either which way.
Yeah, because the show started in 2015.
Either which way, people who dreamed since they were kids about being on that show got to be on that show for 4 months.
I remember,
and they found out on a Tuesday. They signed on a Tuesday and found out it was closing on that same Saturday.
They went into the logistics of everything at that meeting. So the first thing they said was that the two units were closing. Then I don't remember the particular order, but I know they mentioned what would happen with everything. They talked about that company vehicles that were no longer going to be used would be sold off, and that either employees could purchase them or it would be sold off. They mentioned that both trains would be auctioned off. That was hard to hear because this is where we've been living for years.
Oh, yeah.
And up until that point, this train has been this train for centuries. Decades? Decades.
I would say
decades.
Yeah, decades.
So I
Genghis Khan rode that train though.
so, so it
His
was just,
ancestors did.
we were losing our job, we were losing our home, we were losing our livelihood. It hit me really hard because I was so ready to finally start a family. I think we were 24 at that point. We had traveled for so many years. I saw how the kids in this small circus community were being raised, and you would think they were missing something, but no, I think they
had something that other kids
they
didn't.
had so many things that other kids didn't. You didn't have to read about a museum or an experience in a book. You got to go to the monument and check it out. You got to go to where this event happened and learn about
this
it.
Country and sometimes the world had to offer.
You were exposed to so many different cultures and ways of thinking and languages. I had some kids that spoke 2 or 3 languages.
I spoke one.
I had to learn certain words, especially with toddlers that spoke Russian, to get them to follow directions. And it was just such a wonderful thing. I was so ready to start a family, and all of that came crashing down when we had that meeting. We lost our jobs. Everyone lost their jobs. We lost our homes.
I remember vividly, like, granted, she like makes it sound as bleak as it really, really was. Like the severity of the situation, like hundreds of people lost their jobs. And when we left the building that day, because if I'm not mistaken, we got the news broken to us as it was being broken on the news. So like we found out the world. And as we were leaving the arena that day, sobbing again, I just in utter disbelief, there were Peter people outside cheering as if they had won something.
And like, I remember them just shouting things at us. Like, you're looking at a ton of people leaving a building in tears. You know.
Yeah, they were sadistic.
I'm going to say it here first. PETA, they're some of the worst people.
Yeah, they were sadistic about it. I stand for what you're going to stand for, but like, what do you have? What's your beef with?
Well, they should be right. They should be right about it first off, because I mean, I witnessed 2.5 years on the circus of the animals being treated better than the humans.
Yeah,
I agree.
They got pedicures. They got pedicures. Were fed for free, like bathed. Like I was always constantly looking around, like, hey guys, like my nails are getting a little long. Like,
That's what I always tell them. Yeah, I agree.
So I have certain feelings against the PETA people. Anyways,
I'm probably right there with you.
And it's just, I just thought it was so disgusting. Like, stand for whatever you're going to stand for, but look at the bigger picture, my dude. Like, hundreds of people just lost their jobs.
And I will say, from that moment on, I'm actually baffled by the decision to close it in such a short amount of time. But I guess you got to cut your losses where you can. I don't know the business side of it, but like from that moment on, we were sold out. Like in almost every single city, every single show we went to.
Once they announced that the shows were closing, all of a sudden everybody wanted to go. They did explain to us that the reason why they were closing is because of drop of ticket sales. They also explained to us that that's the reason why they made the cutbacks with the animals. It was just too much to continue constantly battling PETA, and every state had different laws and regulations regarding animals.
Feeding them, transporting them, maintaining the trains. It's an expensive venture.
Explained that the trains is not really an efficient mode of transportation for show business to travel with such a large group of people. So, I mean, they explained everything. Everything makes sense. It was just still so heartbreaking. You know, it's not something you thought could happen after it's been going for 100 and plus years, you know?
At that moment, it was one of those things where like the first thought, the most painful thought in my head was like, not, man, I don't get to do this anymore. But it was, man, I don't someday get to take my son to Ringland. Even like post leaving, like the tradition that I grew up with is gone. And obviously, again, hindsight is 2020. It's back. It's very different. It's always going to be, and like I get what you're saying, but it's still, I got to, at the very least, take my son to an arena and sit him down and say, look how cool this is. Like, look at these people fly. Look at these people do some really incredible things that you'll only see at the circus. Not necessarily only Ringling, that circus is circus, but like just the tradition of growing up and going to see Ringling at an arena, that was the hardest thing. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that from my own son.
So I got 2 more questions before we end up in this. One, let's hear your favorite pie story.
That's a tough one. See, like, again, like I go back to, like, I was always the introvert. Like, I'd seen the people get pied, but I was a part of a couple. But
while you think about it, I know one.
Tell yours, because I didn't really pie that many people. I assisted, but Lindsay and Chase, they were the masters.
So I don't believe on working on my birthday. So, but at the same time, I didn't want to be pied, but I did. Everybody wants to kind of be pied.
Oh, everybody wanted it.
But everybody also kind of enjoys, like, dodging, like, where are these people? Where are they? So
pieing Megan and I think it was in winter quarters. Chase and I pied Megan from the band in winter quarters. That was a very memorable one because Megan and I got tight towards the end. Go ahead.
I don't remember what year it was. I just remember I was wearing a green dress. And I was dressed up because after Brian was done with the show, we were going to go out to eat. Or I think some of the clowns and us were going to go out to eat. And I knew it was dangerous, me hanging around these people. I knew it. But I'm married to one of them. And some of my best friends, Chase, was there. And I got along with everybody, all of the clowns. But I remember Ben had gifted me something, and then who else was it that did it? There was like 3 or 4 of them that were in on it. Oh, man. Everybody kept gifting me meat. So,
no, for some reason in the alley, there was this running joke, and I don't remember. Oh, I think it's because we had already owned a copy of Little Fockers on DVD, and she bought one. She bought a second copy because... Simple mistake. She forgot that we owned a copy. So this running gag, it went on for a long time that she just was obsessed and loved. And it's her favorite movie of all time, Little Fockers.
It's not my favorite movie, but Ben just found it so ridiculous. Ben Macon found it so ridiculous that I liked this movie so much that I bought it twice. Because it's not the best movie. I'm aware of that. But I needed it twice. So on my birthday that year, they would distract me with DVDs, but
no, everybody got her a copy.
I had like 4 copies of Meet the Fockers
you had like 5 or 6 copies of Little Fockers.
Everybody would come up to me, hey, I got you something. I really, this is from the bottom of my heart.
She would get sucked in.
They all had this like emotion, spiel or like some heartfelt message that went along with it.
You're one of
and
us,
then DVD pie. They would distract me with opening the pie, or like they would come up from behind me. I thought I was safe. We were at dinner already. We were at the restaurant. Shows are done. Buildings are done. We're out.
Never safe.
Restaurant. Where the hell would they even get they must have packed the damn pie crust, the shaving cream. They have a lot of time on their hands. The day's almost at a close. Like, we're finishing up our meal. From behind, pie.
Well, you say we have a lot of time on our hands, but you got to understand, who entertains the clowns? Our job is to make people smile and laugh, but who does it for us? We do it for ourselves.
My only request was not the dress. The dress. Oh, I said the hair, the head, I don't care. Just not the dress. Chase had put glitter on the shaving cream. So I hate glitter. Glitter's horrible.
The worst.
But he put glitter on it, and then he got my lower face, and it got all over my dress. And then everybody in the alley was like, ooh. But that was a very good pie memory. Yours?
I told you I don't have one. I remember.
You've gotten Chantel.
No, I haven't.
Well, haven't you? Yes, you have.
I think I assisted.
You assisted with
I always assisted. I was really good at being a distraction. I was good at.
I think it might have been Taylor that did Chantel.
No, I think so. Yeah. But I remember in Baltimore, my first year, Pierce, a friend of the alley, and honestly an honorary member of the alley. He another one who's like 20 something years old. It's disgusting.
And drinking. He drinks now. No, not.
He was a little kid back
casual.
then. He was a little kid back then in Baltimore, and he pied me so many times. And I just let it rock because like he's Pierce, and like he would travel like all over the country with his mom to come and visit us, and they would hang out in the alley, and they would take us out to dinner. They were great, and we love Pierce. We love his mom Kim. But I only reason why I remember it because my crappy memory. Pictures. I have pictures of me like next to Pierce, and he just pied me so many times in Baltimore. But yeah, as far as like getting other people for their birthday, I was always assisting.
Very nice, very nice. And so, real quick, where do you see clowning in 2025 leading into 2026?
That's a good question. I will say this much: we need it now more than ever, because unfortunately, in this country, and I want to say the world, but like especially in this country, things are just so divided everywhere you go that people need clowns, especially for the laugh, but like entertainment in general. That's why I implore anybody listening to this, like, go out and support your entertainers. Go to your theme parks, like watch the shows. Because
stay till the end.
Yeah,
clap at the end.
Yeah,
stay off your phones.
Yes, and then that's another big thing. Like, I hate to be like old man who yells at cloud, but especially like at theme parks, and I get it. People spend all this money to come out and fly out. They're not, as lucky as us to live 30 minutes from Disney World and like go as frequently as we do. But like, people are just like this.
Just everything is just like
everything is just. We gotta get it. We gotta get the memory, and I get it to an extent, but there's something so visceral. I'm the last one to talk about memory, but there's something so visceral about like being present. There and being present, and like I'm guilty of it too. If I take my son to see wrestling, or like instead of watching the match or the entrance or the pyro, whatever's happening, I'll record his reaction because I want to remember it, and I get that, but like. Not the whole time. I'll see people and I'll be like on YouTube, and there would be entire shows from beginning to end just recorded from someone's phone. I'm like, why'd you buy a ticket? Just to record the whole thing. Like, get a souvenir, get the memory, get the quick photo. But like, but yeah, as far as like clowning in 2025 and 2026, there are still so many awesome shows out there and awesome circuses. And even non-circuses, like theme parks with
street performers.
They may not all be called clowns, but of course they are. Greg DeSanto said it during his interview, and I'll echo that same sentiment. Lucille Ball.
Robin
Williams, a more modern example. Guy I look up to, Jim Carrey. I've looked up to Jim Carrey as long as I've loved the circus. I model
Charlie Chaplin,
like all these different non-face painted performers, no red nose, but it was their job.
They're clowns.
It was their job to go out and make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people laugh in their own unique way. So clowns are always going to exist. Clowns are always going to. I was on the road for the big clown hysteria of 2016, which made going to work fun.
I think there's definitely different versions or ideas of what it is to be a clown. Mm-hmm. And I think it's always going to change. And I think it
evolves about every 10 to 15 years where we see
and there's an evolution.
Styles. Yep.
There's an evolution. And it's like kind of like, again, with the new version of Ringling, it's not a circus per se. It's more of a variety show, but Ringling has always been a variety show, leaned more towards circus, but like it's always been about people coming together to put forth different acts from all over the world to entertain people and make them forget about their worries and whatever's going on in their everyday life for at 2 hours or however long the show was. And that is still what it is.
And I think it's important for like a show like this or YouTube or anything that has history, museums and
Stories.
because you learn so much from the past. And clowning has made its way into not just anything in comedy, but a clown can be a juggler, a really good juggler. A clown can walk on a wire. A clown can do acrobatics. Ivan Vargas,
He's one of the
yeah, I don't. So anything can be made. I just feel like any form of entertainment can be made 10,000 times better with laughter.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And also, growing up and studying clowns like David Larible, I'm sure it's not his particular quote, but he said something that has always stuck with me. Laughter is a universal language. You can take clowning and like silent physical comedy all over the world. It doesn't matter who you are performing in front of. If you can do something that they find funny, they will laugh. Period.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we enjoyed you having on the show, and we'd love to have you guys back. So,
Oh yeah, thank you for having us. Like I said, I'm a massive introvert, can't stand small talk, but you get me talking about my passion. We've been here for 3 hours.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So, all right. Well, until next time, we'll see you down the road.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. See you down the
All
road.
right.